It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacy's here. Jeff Jarvis is here. Aunt Pruitt is here. Google's deal with the devil is topic number one. Of course, Jeff has some thoughts. We'll talk about Android 12 snow cone. And they're all out of feta cheese in Charlotte. We'll explain why. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig. This Week in Google, episode 599 for Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. You lost me at Zucchini. This Week in Google is brought to you by Linode. Simplify your cloud infrastructure and cut your cloud bills in half. Get started on Linode today with $100 in free credit. Text TWIT to 474747 or visit Linode, linode.com/twig and click on the Create Free Account button to get started. And by Privacy.com. Privacy lets you buy things online using virtual cards instead of having to use your real ones, protecting your identity and bank information on the internet. Right now, new customers will automatically get $5 to spend on their first purchase. Go to privacy.com/twig to sign up now. And by Nureva. Getting your audio ready for meetings back in the office, Nureva Audio is designed for distancing. It automatically adapts to new room configurations, so you're ready for the new normal and whatever comes next. Learn more at nureva.com/twit. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover the latest news from the Googleverse, the Twitterverse, the Facebookverse, and the snow cone verse. Stacey Higginbotham is here, the Internet of Things podcast host with Kevin Toffel.
The Fetaverse.
And the Fetaverse.
I thought it was. I was ready for the snow cone verse because I
said
have lots of
did
opinions
I not
about
say
that.
the snow cone verse?
Well, I know, and I have opinions to share about snow cones.
That's
at
why
any
I
point in
mentioned
time.
it.
We have snow cone news and Feta news today, both.
Ooh.
Cacio e pepe
Always
made
ruin
with
Leo's-
feta cheese.
Ruined Leo's intros, sorry.
Stacy on IoT.com is the website. Hello, Stacy.
Oh, hello.
Hello. I love your pashmina. You have the best
yeah.
shawls and stuff. That's beautiful.
It's because I'm an old Shaw lady now.
Yeah.
Because I live in a cold climate.
My
And I'm
mom,
old.
who's 88 and really is an old lady, and by the way, Mom's getting the vaccine on Friday. I'm very excited.
Yay!
Thrilled. She's in Rhode Island.
Right.
where
Are you
they-
getting yours sometime soon, old guy?
I'm encouraged because apparently we just bought 600 million doses. So I feel like, I'm in group 3 in California. We're in group 2 right now. That's all right. I feel like in the next month or two. Yeah. That's fine.
I get dose 2 on Tuesday.
Good man. I'm so excited.
Yay.
See what I mean? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's
something happening. Yeah.
There's a future.
We can't get through these intros, but, good things are happening.
My mom, the reason I brought her up is she's well beyond shawls. She's now wearing mob caps. She calls them mob caps, which I think is what they were called in the Revolutionary War. They're hats on your head,
Like a toque?
No, they're tighter than that. They're I don't know. They hold your hair and they keep your head warm. Anyway,
They're like if you Google it, a round gathered
Googling
or
it.
pleated cloth bonnet.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a bonnet.
They're kind of more Revolutionary
War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
my.
she's all into
Mom!
She's all into the mob caps, and she's sending me some. So I will be wearing a mob cap. Hey, John, I'm not getting the stream. You got to put the stream in the monitors, because I can't tell what you're taking a picture of. But I gather from the laughter you're seeing this simple American bonnet in portrait by Benjamin Greenleaf, 1805. Which is, ironically, the year that the house I grew up in was built. So maybe that's where she got the mob caps. Jeff Jarvis is also here. Wait a minute. Let me get the script. The Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, City University of New York. Hello, Jeff.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Vaccine 2 on its way. That's good news. I really.
So
really
I got a 2-week delayed reaction to vaccine 1.
So yeah,
last Monday.
What was the reaction?
Right. I saw it was 13 days afterward.
Yeah.
I suddenly got a fever and aches and headache and all that, and I thought, I got it. So I went in to get a test and it was negative. I just think it was a delayed reaction. Even my arm got sore 2 weeks later.
Randall Munroe explains this in his XKCD webcomic from a few days ago. If you could actually show this. The vaccine, it's an explanation, contains mRNA instructions for making the virus spike protein. Weird. So the vaccine's just blueprints? Yeah. Your body reads the mRNA, makes the proteins, and has an immune reaction to them. Why would my body attack something it made itself? Well, and so here's a little story. Here are the Death Star plans. Thank you, Princess. These blueprints are from Princess Leia. She's always giving us projects. Here, take these blueprints to your construction crew. Affirmative. What is it? No idea. Something the princess wants. Copy that. Soon. Hi, Commander. Construction crew B here. We finished building the princess's big metal orb thing. Do you know if she wants us to park it somewhere or... Is everything okay? Imperial Station. Battle. Red alert. Get the fighters in the air. Kill it. Blow it up. Shoot it. The armor's too strong. We're not getting through. Keep firing. Can everybody please chill? We don't even have that laser thing wired up. Hey, boom. I said we can't get through. We're running out of proton torpedoes. Send every crew to build more torpedoes. There aren't enough ships to build more ships. The thing is just sitting there. Are you sure we keep building ships? Build ships forever. Destroy the orb. What is wrong with you people, says the orb. Definitely feeling a little sore. Yeah, they said you might have some side effects. You lie down. I'll get you some hot tea and a blanket. Meanwhile, back on Earth. Die. They're trying to kill the Death Star thing. I hate you all so much, says the guy in the Death Star. What's that? It looks like a thermal exhaust port. I'm going in. Pew, pew, pew. And it blows up.
The poor folks in audio, this made no effing sense.
You can read it on xkcd.com. I'm not done. Don't interrupt. Hold on, because this is for you, Jeff.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
That was well, he'll understand once we. So now we're back to Leia. She says, "Good work," even though they're a little frazzled. And the patient back here on Earth, I'm feeling better today. That's great. A few months later, cough, cough. We have reached the rebel system, Lord Vader. Now they shall witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational thermal exhaust port. And then when they blow it up immediately. And that's the idea of an mRNA vaccine, children.
All of which we want to thank at this moment Dr. Kismakaya Corbett.
Yes.
Kizzy PhD.
She pushed this.
She, in a weekend, worked on what is the vaccine that went into my arm. And when Biden met her, he said, "A weekend?" She said, "Yeah, a weekend." And
now, was she the one who was
Fauci
originally
just profiled her?
Was she the one talking about mRNA vaccines 20 years ago and got funding withdrew?
She's a little too young for that.
Okay, so that was the woman the
Hungarian woman?
Yeah, researcher working at a university who came up with the idea. But see, the thing about Kizzy is interesting is, and they did this back a year ago, right? In April or something, or March.
Yep.
They were able to sequence it very, very quickly.
Literally a weekend.
Yeah.
Literally a weekend. So Kizzy PhD is her account. She's my hero. I mean, she's literally my hero. It's because of her work. That's how we got the vaccine.
Yeah.
And she's really something.
Yeah.
So
she, we would have had the vaccine sooner, but after they invented it, they had to test it for like 9 months.
That is not. I was like, we're not going to actually argue against that. You do have to.
No, it's a good idea.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Who else do we have on the show this week, Leo?
And also joining us with the battle for the Death Star, it's Ed Pruitt from Hands On Photography. Hello, Ed.
Hello, Mr. Laporte.
Good to see you.
You too, sir.
Good to see you, sir. So, did anything happen in the last week?
No. I was thinking last night. Or this morning. I was trying to read some stuff, put it in the rundown. I said, "Boy, it's going to be a dull show. There's just nothing happening." And then, boom!
So you're going to have to fill me in because I was busy this morning doing another show, Google did a deal with NewsCorp.
Or the devil,
Right.
if
They had
you're
already done a
writing
deal
the
with the
headline in your Jeff.
A global multi-year
I knew you'd see
license.
my deft touch, eh?
It's like, oh, there's some editorializing in that headline.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I did
I'll
that.
give
I
you
did that.
the news, and you can explain to me why it's the devil.
Okay.
Google and Murdoch-owned media conglomerate NewsCorp today announced a 3-year licensing agreement ending years of dispute over payment for news content. This is Laura Kayali writing in Politico. This is the quote from NewsCorp. The landmark, should I do it in Australian? The landmark 3-year agreement also includes the development of a subscription platform, the sharing of ad revenue via Google's ad technology services, the cultivation of audio journalism. That's what we're doing right here. And meaningful investments.
We fertilize more.
More
I'd say,
fertilizing than cultivating, yeah.
Yeah.
And meaningful investments in innovative video journalism by YouTube. Do we know how much money Google gave Rupert?
Nope. They won't say, and nobody knows, and lots of guesses, but nobody knows.
And if you've been following the story, the deal in Australia really came from Rupert Murdoch pushing the Australian legislature to demand a payment from Google to publishers for news snippets. So does this change what's going to happen in Australia or Europe?
No and yes. The law, it's not a law yet, it's legislation. So the person who proposed it, I read with him today, says they're going to go ahead with it because it's world first, and Canada's going to copy it, the EU's going to copy it, everybody else is going to copy it. But what it demands is that the platforms negotiate with the publishers, and so that has now happened, at least with a few of them. And Google, I think, to its end, would say, well, we saved the problem here of paying for links. We're not paying for links. We're paying them for news, and they're shutting up about the political stuff, and that's that. Still, I think it's a terrible precedent because it was blackmail. It was bribery, pure and simple. And Google just said, we don't really care. Nobody's going to read this news. We got the showcase. Who cares? But fine, here's a bucket of backsheesh money. Here, will you shut up now? Here's a little more. Will you shut up now? Okay, now you'll shut up. So it sets a precedent around the structure of the web still. It means that media blackmail works. Journalists and media use their political capital with politicians without ever acknowledging the conflict of interest here. Google did not, to my mind, sufficiently defend the internet. It finally just said, to heck with it, and did this. The money, I don't think, is going to go to journalism. It's going to go to Murdoch's pocket, or it's going to go to hedge funds' pockets. And so I was upset and angry. So that was most of the day. Twitter going crazy about this as I'm pontificating about this and where it's going to hit next in Canada and Europe and so on. Then Facebook.
Well, before you go to Facebook, let's finish this story because I know you have the final word, but I just like to interpose a little bit of a word in between.
Oh, please, because that's what we do. We stretch things out. Yes,
I'm not sure.
We may be able to wake up Stacey and see if she has an opinion about this.
I don't want to be
No.
I don't need to be hamburger helper.
I was joking.
Here in this equation.
I was joking.
Am I the macaroni? I think this is actually exactly the way the world works, Jeff. I know you'd like to be a purist, but what happens is we have competing interests, one you like, one you don't like. They have opposing points of view. One of them threatens, another threatens back. That's happened, a lot of saber rattling. And eventually a little diplomacy happens and they come to a mutual agreement and they resolve it. And I think this is far better than any of the other possible consequences.
No, the problems I have with that.
Wait a minute, stop, Jeff. Go ahead, Stacey.
Stacey, go.
No, I was going to say this is at least done as part of a legislative process. And I know that doesn't make it, I guess, holier than thou, but it does make it maybe a little bit more transparent. Like you can see this, and if citizens really hate it, they can not vote. I mean, I know how you feel about this, Jeff. I really don't have strong feelings either way about it because I'm kind of like, I'm a little with Leo's realpolitik, but it could be worse.
I kind of like the idea that doesn't always have to be legislative solutions. I agree with you, Stacey, that in theory a legislative solution is the will of the people. But in a way, the legislative stick brought the two to the table. It's like the Camp David Accord.
But that
right?
legislative stick came from, here's the problem though, it came from Murdoch having politicians literally in his pocket.
Oh, well, that happens all the time, Jeff. I mean, that's
You're just jealous
I know,
because
but
you don't have
what
any
it did,
in your
it
pocket.
misused, I know, it misused the structure. If in any normal market, in any sane market, the publishers would have owed Google for the marketing that they received and the traffic they received and the potential customers they got. It didn't happen that way because Google chose in its early days not to sell, unlike Yahoo, not to sell links in primary search, only in ads. And so they never established a market value for that. And so the publishers whined and screamed and said, you took my picture, you stole my soul, you owe me eternity. When in fact, Google was saying, no, we took your headline for the purpose of sending a link to you. We don't owe you anything for that. But they insisted that they used this PR angle with the politicians to say Google stole our content. And Google said, fine, we'll stop doing it. Use robots.txt. We won't do it then. There's a simple way. Don't do it. That's the way the deal works. That's the way the internet works. And they said, no. We're going to insist that you steal from us so we can insist you give us money. And we're going to use all of our politicians. And Google, listen, if Google found value in this news, but when I'm not jumping ahead to Facebook, but let me just mention this.
I agree. Wait, before you jump ahead again, I want to stop.
I'm not jumping ahead. I'm making the point. Mark Zuckerberg said, nobody's going to read this news. We know that, right? He was honest about that. Google hasn't said that, but nobody's going to read the showcase. They're not going to read news on Google. This was done strictly to pay off the blackmail. That's what I'm offended by, and they didn't defend the structure of the net. These are the proprietors of our net. When I'm accused of defending Google and Facebook, I tell you that I'm defending the net instead. Well, today I'm angry that the defenders of the net, especially Google, did not defend the net. I'm very angry at that.
How does this hurt the net?
Well, it hurts the net, number one, because God knows how publishers and others will use their political capital in the future to do whatever.
Well, they might hurt the net down the road, but how does this hurt the net?
This hurts the net because even though they're not officially paying for links, they're paying for links. That's what happened here. And so there's no rational market exchange going on here. Google said, okay, well, we'll make a news thing and we'll put some news there and we'll syndicate it from you like the Associated Press used to work, okay? And then if we pay you enough money, you'll stop doing that other thing. But in fact, it is these guys saying, pay us for linking to us.
All right.
And Sir Tim Berners-Lee lectured the Australian authorities and said this breaks
in a perfect world, you make it doesn't break the web. In a perfect world, you make a very good case.
Oh.
It's a little hypocritical for news organizations who could just block Google's Spider and not have to worry about snippets to say, no, we want to show up in your search results and we want you to pay us for that. So that's hypocritical. I agree with you. They're
right. And Google could have had the freedom to say.
It is.
Google could also have the freedom to say, sorry, news organizations, we're not going to pay you. So what happened in Spain? We'll just leave.
Right.
Well, that's okay.
I don't think
but then they were told
breaks the net. I don't think that's a good outcome. I think this is a better outcome. Google can afford.
I agree, but
you agree.
But Google was told you can't even do that. You can't use your own freedom to make a market choice on your own. We're going to force you to pay even if you don't get anything.
But I think you're talking about an ideal world, and in this case, I think we've got a pretty good agreement that is not going to hurt the internet. I don't think this hurts the internet.
Jeff, how do you feel about like Substack and newsletters? Because there's no robot text for these guys. So if I want something published or searched by Google, I put it online. So there's an opportunity for people, for the media business, to not have their stuff accessible online for search.
Is stuff behind a paywall like the Financial Times? Does that get spidered?
No, that's still searchable and spidered. But like newsletters like Substack and stuff like that, it's not. So if I only publish to my subscribers, it's only those subscribers that ever get it and see it and know it exists.
And that harms you in one respect because you don't have discoverability. It's why Jeff publishes on Medium because he wants people to find his publishing.
It harms me, but it also harms the overall conversation.
Yes, I agree.
As a journalist, I wouldn't. I mean, Google's not really taking money from me, but as a publisher, but like, it also, like, as a journalist, I need my work to be out there because otherwise I'm just shouting into the void and there's no fun there.
I agree. In a perfect world, there'd be a free flow of information. There would be no paywalls, and everybody be able to see everything.
No, I mean, there has to be a
But
way
you have to make a
money.
living. Yeah.
Like, hold on there, buddy.
Yeah.
No, you have to have.
Well, and let's go to the Financial Times has a pretty hard paywall, which you can't get past because you keep on trying to go past it. And the Financial Times knows that in part from Google telling them, this guy Leo, he comes in all the time. Don't give him nothing. Just make sure.
They don't need
the
Google to tell them that. If I go to the Financial Times, they know exactly that I'm doing that.
But Google knows it from various places. So Google started to subscribe with Google. Google tells Financial Times when this is a likely mark. There's
if I go through a
different
Google
things.
News source to it.
Yeah, or you've got Google cookies
But I mean, honestly,
for a bit.
anybody
Google
with a
was
paywall
collaborating
knows
with them and
who's
helping
hitting the paywall without the help of any third party.
Depends on whether you're doing it through mobile and through your browser and through your other browser.
Google knows who you are all the
Google
time
had valuable
across many
information.
places.
Right.
Yes.
So
right.
Google is making
Google was
good,
sharing that with
Google,
the publishers.
I think it could stipulate. Google makes a lot of money. They're very profitable. They're willing.
So does Rupert Murdoch.
I'm sure they don't like it, but they're willing to say, let's bury the hatchet. Here, have a pile of money. Maybe Rupert gave them some, okay, maybe we'll do some joint development deals. It sounds like that, according to the article. That might benefit you as well and might benefit the open net as well. I think this is a good
So let me
outcome.
give you another problem I have.
So you go ahead.
You
could do the next one if you want, yeah.
No, I'm not going to. Now you're trying to rush me here? Oh, jeez.
Oh, dear.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So the other problem is this, and this is my routine. As far as and I'm going to be political here for a moment, pardon me, but as far as I am concerned, my opinion, not Leo's, not anybody else's, my opinion is that Rupert Murdoch ruined this country and my family and others, and this is the time when journalists should be.
Oh, so what you're really mad about is
shunning
Fox News?
Him. That's part of it here because if you go to Sky News Australia, it is worse than Fox News.
Yeah, Murdoch.
And so he's infecting them.
He's a good businessman. He knows
he's also
that
going into
you stimulate the amygdala, as somebody in the chat room said. You get lots of views.
Well, no, that's it's worse than that. He created.
Do you think actually? Let
me finish my point. Let me finish my point real quickly. At the time when I think we in journalism should be making decisions and cleaning our own house, we tell Facebook and Google all the time and Twitter, you clean your house, and we haven't cleaned our own in journalism. So I want to bring journalists together and say, what do we say about Fox News? What do we say about Breitbart? What do we say about these places? Do we have standards or not? And if we do, and we try to go to Google and say, today when Rush Limbaugh died, the number one story on Google News was Fox News's paean to him. Is that necessarily the best thing for them to do? Let's have that discussion. Well, now we're not going to have that discussion because Google's paying Fox for this content. And if we ever said that we got to a point where Fox got so bad that we said you should take Fox off, how do we have that discussion now? How do we have that? And so what happened here, what really upset me was that The Guardian, which went to Australia to be the guardian angel against Murdoch and raised money for that purpose to be an alternative to Murdoch, they played along with Murdoch in this case for their cynical money. I'm profoundly disappointed. I'm probably ruined my relationship with the Guardian for the rest of my life by saying this, but I'm terribly disappointed in them for doing that.
When you say Google News, you mean news.google.com? Is that what you mean?
That case, yes. But of course, this discussion is more than Google News.
So that's not what I'm getting. I'm
getting
news
content anywhere.
That's not what I'm getting. I'm getting Los Angeles Times is the first article. Then when it went to full coverage,
it was earlier today.
LA Times, Fox News, Washington Post, CNN. I'm then getting.
Yeah, this is hours ago.
Okay. I see the New York Times. All right. Is it your assertion that because Murdoch gave them money that Fox News appeared first?
No, it's my assertion that if we try to have a discussion with them about maybe Fox News shouldn't be promoted, that's kind of they detoured around that. We can't really have that discussion now.
Yeah.
Because they have endorsed Fox News. They have endorsed Murdoch's outlets by deciding to pay them. And here's the other thing. Then you can go on to the next one. The irony of all this regulation, the paradox of all this regulation, is that every time they try to take power away from the platforms, they get more. We've talked about this before. Right to be forgotten, Google decides what we remember. NetzDG in Germany, Facebook decides what is hate or not legally. Now Google's in a position where they decide which news organizations to anoint with money and which ones not to under this legislation. And so that puts them in a position of a much more power. And my fear is that it's going to be a lot harder for any startup, any wacky little site to get going here and get any of this benefit from the news showcase, from the promotion and traffic there, or the money, or anything else. And so Murdoch won either way. If Google had left, he's got all the brands. He's fine. They stay, he got a bunch of money, and he gets to say, nah. And either way, that grates the hell out of me. That's all. Thank you.
I got it. We'll have more with the Jeff Jarvis Show in just a moment, but we're going to take a break, and then it's actually going to be...
I don't think he cared at all. I don't think he cared at all.
Not a bit. You know, he's just a very neutral observer. And then I do want to talk about snow cone with Stacy, who's freezing. But first, a word from Linode. I love Linode. Managing your complex cloud infrastructure should not be hard. It isn't with Linode. In fact, I've been a Linode user for, I want to say, a decade. I don't know if they've been around that long. I remember I first became aware of Linode because, well, it's Linux hosting, which is awesome. Love that. Linode makes cloud computing available to everyone. Simplify your cloud infrastructure with Linode's Linux virtual machines, and you'll be deploying and scaling your modern applications faster and easier. 800,000 developers use Linode for a number of reasons. I picked them because they were fast and inexpensive, but a lot of people say the intuitive cloud manager and the full-featured API is the feature they're looking for. Linode has data centers all over the world, and the beauty part is you don't pay more or less for any one of them. It's a simple, consistent pricing regardless of location. Just choose the data center closest to you, and you're good to go, or closest to your customers if you want. The support from Linode is great. They're geeks like us, and they don't care if you've got a big plan or a little plan. They care about getting the job done 24/7, 365 days a year. No handoffs, no tears. You will immediately get somebody who can help you, who can get the job done. So think of what you can do with leading price performance Linode. I mean, look at comparisons. You can host your website, build an app. Actually, that's kind of what I do. I'm not an app developer, but I am a hobbyist, and having a server or 2 or 3 or 4 on Linode makes it very easy for me to try stuff, to host my password vault, for instance, things like that. You could store or backup media. You can launch and enrich your developer applications, hosted services, websites, AI and machine learning workloads, gaming services, or CI/CD environments. Launch and scale in the cloud with their virtual machines. You could choose shared or dedicated compute instances. And we're going to give you a $100 credit, which you could even use on S3-compatible object storage or managed Kubernetes. You get the idea. Really, anything you want to do, you can do at Linode. Linode also is a great, as I think this is kind of the open source model. They share what they know. They share information. They have a fabulous free YouTube channel. There's lots of video tutorials, security tips, just good stuff at youtube.com/Linode, Linode. Take a look at the testimonials at Linode.com. Bryce Adams from Meteoric, for instance. From the start, this is the quote, "We were looking for a partner, not a provider. Some of the large providers, no names, see us only as a transaction. Linode is the kind of partner that'll be with us from the start, today, and beyond. Simplify your infrastructure. Cut your cloud bills in half with Linode's Linux virtual machines. Whether you're developing a personal project or managing larger workloads, you deserve simple, affordable, and accessible cloud computing solutions. Get started on Linode today." I said something, I'm going to stand by it, $100 credit. Nice. For listeners of This Week in Google, get all the details at Linode, linode.com/twig. And if you're not at your desktop, but you want to remember this, just text TWIT to 474747. Text TWIT to 474747, and you'll get your free credit, $100. Wow. That's linode.com/twig. Don't Don't forget to use that /twig too, because that lets them know you saw it here. Click on the free account button to get started. If it runs on Linux, it runs on Linode, and it runs well. Thank you, Linode, for supporting This Week in Google. Actually, before we talk a snow cone, I kind of want to talk about Fuchsia, because there's some Fuchsia news.
Stacy has things to say about that too.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say, but yes, tell us about it, Leo.
So Google, according to 9 to 5 Google, is proposing a way. Fuchsia is their next generation operating system, which they recently open sourced and asked for contributors. They are proposing a way for Fuchsia to run Android and Linux apps natively. So Fuchsia is not Linux, but wouldn't it be cool if you had an operating system that could run unmodified Android and Linux apps? It sounds to me
it's not running a shell of Android.
No VM. No.
Natively to no VM.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Whoa.
So it's all doing this natively, and I think this is really cool because it's really interesting, and I'm sorry, it's interesting for the IoT because a lot of IoT devices, they either run Linux or they run Android, and there are pros and cons to doing each. So, but I don't know how it does it, and that's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
I think this would be
Starnix.
cool, but for a tiny group of people. Even though we have all of this IoT stuff out there, having Linux capability running on your phone, I don't know how well that's going to make a difference.
Other way around,
IoT devices.
So imagine instead of buying a Chromebook, which runs Chrome OS, and you can get Linux running on Chrome OS, and you can get Android apps, but instead of doing that, running some new computing device running Fuchsia, not a phone, but it can run your phone's apps, and it can run Linux apps. And you're probably right. This is not an... I don't know what Google's intent.
It's not consumer, but...
It's not an end-user thing. Yeah, I think you're right.
But cars, a lot of cars pulled in Android and built things on Android. A lot of appliance makers use it. Medical device makers are looking at it instead of Windows. There's a whole generation of computing that's going to be coming online that needs an OS that can last for a long time, that has popular support, but isn't as proprietary as Windows, if that makes sense. And this sounds really compelling, maybe. I mean, and the other thing is they've been building this. I mean, we first heard about Fuchsia in 2011. Is that right? It was a long time ago.
That long?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Maybe not that long.
So the other thing I think is important and interesting is this is one of the first contributions since Google opened up Fuchsia to the general populace. So this is at googlesource.com. And by the way, this is merely a proposal. Here's the document.
Yes.
This document proposes a mechanism for running unmodified Linux programs on Fuchsia. They're running a user space process whose system interface is compatible with the Linux ABI. So it doesn't use the Linux kernel. It implements the interface in the Starnix, which you mentioned, Starnix, which is a compatibility layer. So it's not emulation, but it is a translation layer, maybe more like Wine.
Yeah, there's some sort of abstraction in there, and I don't know.
Wine.
And by the way, Jeff, you're right. It was 2016 that we first heard about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
but the
fact I think a decade.
I think that mostly I find this interesting because we're starting to see ideas come in from outside of Google. I'm really curious what Google's intention is with this. And
they've said. They
did
an interview.
What did they say?
They said a couple years ago, in 2019, one of the people working on this said that they envision Fuchsia for devices that are not phones or laptops. So for everything else. So that was the thinking there.
So that could be a car. It could be an IoT device. It could be your June oven.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. And remember,
my June oven runs Android.
That's right. And we talked last week about Google doing a deal with Ford for Android Automotive, but maybe that's also what this would be. Go ahead, Jeff.
So back in the day, the very early days of the web, I remember when Java came out, and wow, you could run this application on various OSs right through the web. This is like the inverse of that. here's an OS that can run applications from any number of other OSs, right? So does it try to become kind of a universal OS?
I think it's mostly a bridge to
what it
solve
is?
the obvious problem of any new operating system, which is it has no apps. So
Okay.
I think it's more like,
But isn't it even? But it sounds more fundamental than that. It sounds like it could be.
it's like
more
wine.
universal, no?
I mean, when Linux, I think one of the reasons wine existed is because people said, well, I'm not going to use Linux unless I can run Microsoft Office. And so wine was designed to scratch that itch. And I think it is kind of a carrot or a chicken and egg problem with any new operating system. So, by the way, whether Starnix will happen is
Right.
This is
This is a
just an
proposal.
idea. This isn't even a code sample. So, I'm more interested in the fact. Well, two things. One is because it does point us a little bit in a direction of what they might be doing with Fuchsia, but also just that we're starting to see now, because it's open, a little more Fuchsia activity, which I'm glad to see. It's always bugged me that we've kind of said, okay, there's, we got maybe 4 operating systems. There's Windows, there's Mac, there's iOS, there's Android. Okay, there's 4, and then there's Linux and BSD. So there's 6, but there's no room for any more. The last operating system that had a shot at being commercial was BOS almost 30 years ago. And then when Apple decided not to use BOS, but instead Next Step for their Macintoshes, that was the end of BOS. And it was, those of us who liked BOS were really impressed with BOS. It was really, really cool. I'd love to see another look at a modern operating system. I mean, there's things you would do differently now, particularly designed for security, that, in a more modern world, we have newer needs. Lots of. And I presume Fuchsia will address
But isn't that what Apple is trying to do now with? Isn't that what Apple is trying to do now with its bit of a synergy between Mac OS and iPad OS and so forth?
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit more
when
of
they
a
announced
modern OS
iOS,
for the
when the
people.
iPhone was announced, they said it's really the OS 10 kernel in a phone operating system. I think there's more in common between iOS and Mac OS under the hood. I think you could almost say there's one OS from Apple, designed for different platforms.
Is there a legal issue these days? I'm going back to my early days as well. So let's say that this also works with Mac OS, just for the heck of it. Is that if it doesn't use any Mac core logic, but it's still able to be compatible, is that a problem with copyright or trademark or patents or anything?
I'm sure Apple's lawyers will find a way.
Yeah.
Well, remember the Google Oracle debate was sort of over that, whether
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
Google could make a Java clone not by taking any of the code, but by just duplicating the programming interface, the API. That's still to be determined, right? They haven't.
It's still not determined.
Yeah, they haven't ruled on that yet, but it doesn't look good, to be honest with you. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Wine on Linux works not by putting any Windows code on Linux, but just by responding to Windows system calls in the way Windows would. So when it requires a bit of a tweaking for every app, but when an app is running under Wine, it thinks it's running under Windows. It's really running on Linux, and anytime it makes a Windows call, Wine intercepts it and says, "Oh yeah, here. You want to open a window? Okay, here." And that's, I think, an interesting way to work. I don't know what the Oracle Google judgment would have, how that would affect Wine, because Wine is kind of doing the same thing. It's imitating Windows APIs. It's actually really more imitating system calls. So, but I don't know.
It becomes a different architectural world.
I remember you said a few minutes ago with.
Ant, you're a little latent, and I don't mean anything bad by that. But go ahead.
Keep freezing over there.
Yeah. Go ahead. Ask your question.
You said that Wine was sort of the way to scratch the itch for the folks in Linux, and I don't know if it even scratched that itch. I mean, granted, it could open a few things here and there, but just how functional was it to be able to get day-to-day done without jumping through a gazillion hoops of wine in the configuration? I hated it.
Yeah, I think it was a transitional technology, and it is now not as important because there's LibreOffice and there's all sorts of. I mean, I think almost anything you want to do, Linux has a great open source alternative to. So. Did you try to run?
A long time.
Yeah, it took a long time though. Yeah. Did you try to run Photoshop on Linux? Is that what you were doing? Or Lightroom?
No, I didn't try Photoshop. No.
Yeah.
Didn't try Photoshop. I remember just trying to fight with spreadsheets.
Oh yeah, it was hard. Yeah. And I don't think it's as important as it used to be. Honestly, I think I don't ever feel like I can't do anything I want to do in Linux. Probably, in many cases, better than I could do it on Windows. But I'm a little bit biased in that regard. All right, let's talk about Snow Cone, which is not necessarily the name of Android 12, but it is the right letter.
I thought they decided it was Snow Cone.
Did they announce?
Who decided Snow Cone?
What happened? Hold up.
Well, this is what they say on XDA developers. Google has ditched the dessert-themed names ever since Android 10 was released.
What I thought.
While the next version of Android has not been confirmed for its name yet, it's just numbers and logic at this stage. However, with that being said, Google still continues to use the dessert-themed names in its internal code base. Android 10 was sneakily called Quince Tart. Android 11 was Red Velvet Cake, but you never heard that in public, right? It was just internally. And it's not clear if it's Snow Cone, but apparently XDA developers has found some evidence. Let me see here.
Google, how can you rob the fun from us? Was that nice, Google?
Yeah.
Was that nice?
A lot of the development branches, XDA developers say, are prefaced with SC. It was last time RVC for Red Velvet Cake. SC could be other things.
Anything else?
Shortcake.
Oh, yeah.
But XDA seems convinced it's probably Snow Cone. Anyway, it's
strawberry cake.
Strawberry cake.
Stretch.
Yeah. So anyway,
sugar cookie.
Sugar cookie.
Oh,
there
sugar
you go.
cookie. Yeah, winner. There's a winner. Yeah, I like that.
If one needs dessert names,
I can come up more.
Give us more. Give us more. So there is a lot of information on XDA developers about Android 12. I feel bad. I don't care about Android anymore.
About what?
I really don't.
I'm right there with you. When I saw that this information was announced or leaked or whatever, it didn't really excite me anymore because I don't know how much more innovation can be done. Wait a minute.
Did you see about the privacy indicators and privacy setting changes?
Oh, that's just another notification that people are going to ignore.
Your phone?
People are just going to ignore those notifications, swipe them away.
No. It's visual on your screen. It's on your home screen.
Is it kind of Apple style privacy?
You'll see it. Somebody said.
Let's see. Let me find it. Privacy indicators. Here they are. Here they are. Privacy indicators and privacy setting changes. The screenshots below show what looks like privacy indicators. Users could receive a warning in the status bar. See up at the top here, the little green thing and I can't quite see it, but it's. I guess that the microphone is on, and maybe that's a camera on, and you can then, according to XDA developers,
it looks like both the microphone and camera.
Tap it, and it would tell you which apps are using the camera or microphone.
So, Leo, can I try to answer your point about Android?
Yes.
I think given this and the conversation we just had, I think it's operating systems you don't care about.
I care a lot about operating
systems.
No, I care a lot about operating systems. Yeah.
No, but what's really new? They kind of work. It's like the phones themselves. They're commodified now. It's not a big deal. we used to care a lot about these changes of new capabilities. We really don't. They're minor things that can be added any time. The fact that they get added with the new OS, who cares?
That's where I
think
am.
It's the OS that's gotten boring. Yeah.
That's where I am. It's not much that we can do right now from an innovation standpoint that's going to impress me.
Well, wait, y'all.
Seems,
hold on.
Hold on. Stacey's found it.
No.
Bring it.
We're in like this really cool area where like we're shifting from just phones and computers to like everywhere. So we're going to actually have a whole bunch of cool new operating systems, or maybe not a bunch.
For computing at the edge, yeah. That's
for computing at the edge, and
what Fuchsia is, yeah.
Yeah, and there's whole different areas. So you got to think, like, if you're thinking about this, you've got to think about things like, something that's flexible enough to scale up and down for memory requirements, right? You got to think about power consumption, how to draw things back and down. You also have to think about longevity of the devices. A computer and a phone only last for like 5 years. So there's actually, and then when you think about security, you've also got to have a cloud connection, but you also have security on the device and some sort of tokenization that helps, like, or PKI basically, that's like going to give you a token that you check in the cloud and everything. So I know, Jeff, but just it's going to get exciting soon. And I think Fuchsia's possibly a part of that. I don't know. Those are the things I'm looking for in these things.
Or what I'm trying to say is Fuchsia commodifies all the OSs if it can operate apps from multiple OSs.
That's actually not what's bothering me about Android. And it's the same thing bothering me about Chrome, which is not an OS, which is that...
Watch it, fella. Watch it.
Oh,
watch it.
I stopped using both because Google is an advertising company. And while Apple has said, look, we're going to give you app tracking information, and we're going to let you know what's going on privacy-wise, I think Google's commitment to that in both Chrome and Android has really been lagging. And honestly, I don't have a problem with it's not like there aren't at least as good solutions, if not better solutions out there. I don't feel, just as I don't feel the need to use Facebook, I don't feel the need to use Chrome or Android anymore because honestly, I think that I don't trust them.
Okay.
Fanboy.
That's fair.
I will say I would like to see more effort from Google to make these phones a little bit more useful when you travel internationally, because it seems like whenever I speak to people that travel internationally, the last thing they want to take is an Android device because of the security.
That's not true for me. Well, for security reasons, yeah. But I always use Google Fi or T-Mobile on an Android phone traveling because it's the most compatible solution. But you're right. From the point of view of security, I think...
That's what matters. Because I'm not going to be calling
really kind of matters
internationally, but I'm sure I'll be online if I was internationally traveling,
I guess I can use Fi on the iPhone. But
you should travel with a burner phone with nothing on your device.
True. And really, the risk, the privacy issue is not when you're, and security issue maybe even, is not when you're overseas. It's when you're crossing the border, the American border. That's the real. There's the risk right there. I don't know. I'm willing to be talked off this ledge, but I don't feel like Google's commitment.
Oh no, you're not. Oh no, you're not. You like being on that ledge.
Well, if you don't want to talk me off the ledge, I'll stay up here. But I feel like Google's commitment to privacy is half-hearted.
Oh.
And I'm not alone, by the way.
Apple's is accidental. Apple's is accidental.
Yeah, it's accidental, but it is.
Apple's is accidental,
but it exists.
Marketing the hell out of it. And
well,
I would also, and it's doubling down on it in as much as it can.
Yeah.
I do think people are, Kevin has dumped all his Google stuff and went over to Apple, and I never thought I'd see that day. So
what?
Yes. Yeah, he's been trying to de-Googlify his phones and everything. Even the Android phones, he tried to de-Googlify.
It's kind of the same for me, too.
He dumped his Android phones. He was running a weird something.
And by the way, I am not happy with Apple's walled garden approach and its ecosystem approach. I think that that's exactly the wrong thing. I'm much more in favor of open stuff, but it does work better. And
you just want to use Clubhouse, I know.
Oh, there it is.
That's all about Clubhouse.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, it's all about Clubhouse, yeah.
I put Clubhouse, I got inundated by people like, why aren't you on Clubhouse? This said you weren't on Clubhouse. So I put it on my iPad mini, and I still haven't done one, but I don't know.
No, Clubhouse is just the latest flavor. I'm all over Pinterest now. That's my new thing.
It's back.
Pinterest has never left. I mean, I sit there, our house designer, when we were doing our renovations, I mean, and these were like boring renovations. Like the most exciting thing was replacing the floors, but the rest of it was like, hey, this bathroom toilet is falling apart. He's like, just put a bunch of the toilets you like on Pinterest. And I'm like, I have toilets?
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's a big deal.
My
daughter loves it.
Pinboard.
It's like a pinboard, sort of, but it's or as we were talking about on Windows Weekly earlier, the reason it came up on Windows Weekly is because there's a Financial Times published an article saying that Microsoft was interested in purchasing Pinterest for stand back, sit down, watch out, here it comes, $50 billion.
Dear God.
Which is an astounding figure.
And Microsoft, you still wouldn't be cool.
I don't think they want to be cool. It puzzled me at first, and then I thought about it. Pinterest is two things that Microsoft would love. First of all, like Instagram, it's an ad magnet, because when you're scrolling through these, some of these tiles are contributed by people, but some of them are ads, and they look exactly like.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Just like Instagram, and you're in there, and because the second part of Pinterest is you basically on Pinterest, you just put stuff you're interested in. And it's,
I was
right?
buying toilets.
Stuff.
Right?
So you told Pinterest, I want to buy these toilets.
Giving a signal.
Big signal.
Big signal.
So I love it because my Pinterest is full of food, recipes, and diet advertisements. So it works works so well together. It's a perfect blend of all the things. So I could see, I don't know if it's worth $50 billion. That's kind of a mind-boggling number, given that Instagram was $1 billion.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers really mean anything anymore.
No, they don't.
I mean, look at I'm sure that wasn't in cash. I'm sure there was a large component in stock. So,
yeah.
Bitcoin.
Well, and even WhatsApp,
And
which was a very
Bitcoin.
good purchase for Facebook, was only $22 billion. And at the time, we were like bowled over by that number. This is more than twice that. It's more than Microsoft paid for Nokia. It's much. It's more than Microsoft paid for LinkedIn. Much. It's more than Microsoft paid for GitHub. It's an astounding number. By the way, the latest is apparently that those negotiations are not currently active. But I think the Financial Times is probably a good source for this kind of stuff. So. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile,
I don't even know the demographic of Pinterest anymore. Because, back in the days, you would pull up an app and they'd say, hey, everybody's using it is between 18 and 30 or something
and female.
like that.
And women.
And lots of women.
But now I don't know
And the
any
tech industry
demographics.
made so much fun of it. Like very early on, there was a lot of denigration of
Just
Pinterest.
pictures.
And I'm like, it was actually something new.
I follow Trey Ratcliffe on here. He has a board of his favorite travel photos. I mean, it's it's got lots of good stuff on it. It's kind of
I
like
had an account and I don't remember the last time I used it.
Well, here are
Same here, but I might get back into it. I'm gonna try it again, Ant, and see what's there.
It's funny. I haven't.
Or I could promote my wellness ritual.
There you go. Do you have one?
No, are you kidding me?
Yes, he does. Eat, catch, or peppy.
But every
Promotes
other
wellness.
week.
Every other week. That's right, Stacy. I'm good about that. And
When
this
I
is
said
my week.
when I said I was concerned about you, I was much relieved to hear that. So, my parents have power now.
Woohoo!
I'm very excited.
Are they in Houston or
That's
Austin?
Great news.
Are they in Houston?
They're in Houston.
Houston.
And my brother, who's outside of Houston in like a very not awesome area, he also got power.
Oh, good.
So, yay.
That's
Thank
good.
goodness.
That's great news. Did they lose water at any point?
I think they're under a boil water notice, but I'm less worried about that
Holy
because they have
moly.
lots of water. And my parents, I know that
They
don't
prefer
think they are,
gin,
but
right?
they're older.
Oh,
no,
okay.
they prefer single malt, single
Oh,
barrel,
there you
single
go.
something.
Yeah.
Single malts. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chromebooks, Jeff, outsold.
Just as you were dismissing them with Chrome.
Outsold Macintoshes worldwide in 2020.
Macintosh fanboy,
Hey,
take
hey,
that.
Well, that makes sense.
Jarvis, Mr. Jarvis, come on. Don't gloat over this. I mean, we're in a pandemic where people are not making any money. They're going for the cheapest thing that they can find.
Yes.
Just to get.
And they're
through.
discovering how wonderful it is, Ant. It's a great thing.
I don't think they care. All they want to know is, can this thing get on Zoom? Yes or no. Can this thing get on Hangouts? Yes or no. Done.
A lot of kids, a lot of students. People realized if we've got
a lot of
3
businesses
kids,
too, I think.
Businesses, you think, doing Chromebooks?
I think so, just because people had, they had the desktop at the office, or they had their office machine or whatever. I think there was some of that too. I saw a lot of talk about, I need 20 machines suddenly.
IDC.
Oh, small businesses.
IDC, which includes desktops, laptops, and workstations, worldwide market share dropping from Microsoft from about 90% to 75%. Kind of flat to dropping for Mac OS. That's the green bar. The purple bar, nice steady growth for Chrome OS. I mean, it's still under 25%, but it's good growth. Windows is still 87.5% market share. Mac OS 5.8. This is in Q1 2020. This is a year ago. Chrome OS captured 5.3. In Q2, Windows fell to 81. Mac OS grew to 7. Chrome OS jumped to 10. Q3 and Q4 of last year, Windows dropped further to 79% for Q3, then 77% for Q4. Mac OS grew for Q3, then back down for Q4, possibly because they had new chips coming out. Might have slowed down the sales. While Chrome OS had 11.5% for Q3 and a 14.4% share in Q4. So big year for Chromebook, and not a surprise.
Can I just gloat a little bit? And people made fun of me.
Good luck stopping
when I sat down to the keyboard, and they thought I was ridiculous, and they thought, oh, this thing won't last, Leo. And I've been on it for like 5 years, and I've been happy. Can I gloat a little bit that I'm not alone anymore, please? A little bit.
So 5 years means that it has lasted, is what you're saying? That's longevity to you? 5 years?
Well, it's not that old. It's only about 5 years old, Uncle Ant.
I mean, we just said that most phones
what do you want, the
aren't any good
30-year-old OS?
Most phones aren't any good for like 4 years or so.
Hey, you really want to hurt Google? Fine them 1.1 million euros and see them Yelp. That's like the interest from 1 second.
Yeah, that's like when, I don't know, someone comes up to me and like asks for $1. You don't even want that back.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, take the $1.
I'm not going to bend over to pick up that nickel. It's not worth it. Google Ireland, and Google France have agreed to pay a stunning $1.34 million fine after a probe found that Google's hotel rankings could be misleading for consumers. Do you think the French are blackmailing Google, Jeff?
No, they're just French.
That look on his face.
Honestly, why even bother? Do you think that's statutorily set? Like that was the most they could ask for? And this is Stacy's like me going, Stacy, I don't like you. Give me $1.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like, hey, I'm short a little bit for the tip. Do you have $1?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, sure, take it.
Whatever.
But
don't have to pay me
you
back.
went straight to, I don't like you.
Okay, sorry. I am never going to San Francisco again. Waymo has just begun robo-taxi tests in San Francisco. It's terrifying.
This is a great time for robots, actually, I would think. There's
because you don't want to get in a car with an Uber driver, do you? That's actually a good point, yeah.
No.
So less traffic,
what kind of
no
car is that?
germs.
A Jaguar?
No.
Oh, that'd be nice. A Jag?
Jag? Is that a Jag? Is that an I-Pace? Let's see here.
Yeah.
Jag.
Yeah, they're driving. Well, it's either a Chrysler Pacifica or an I-Pace. I think it's an I-Pace. That doesn't look like a Chrysler Pacifica. The I-Pace is not the Jaguar you're thinking of. By the way, Jaguar has decided not to make the XKE or whatever its modern equivalent is electric yet.
Aw. I would like a fancy.
I would buy that so
what's it called?
fast.
A fancy, fast electric car that is like my Tesla, but maybe a little not like my Tesla.
You know what I want, but I can't afford. I just got my my Ford Mach-E last night, and it's really nice.
It's pretty.
Oh, you
It's
did
pretty.
get it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But what
I
I
saw
would
it
have,
when I left the studio today.
isn't it pretty? Yeah.
It's pretty.
What I actually want, Stacy, and if I had your money, I would buy, is the Audi E-Tron Gt.
Yes.
Is that a beautiful car?
Yes.
You
The
love a
e-tron.
good Audi.
Oh.
Let's see.
Ooh, it's
I haven't
only
looked at cars.
it's only 100,000.
Woo.
But it's the same platform as the Porsche Taycan, so it's a nice, speedy drive. But it is like kind of a luxury.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Isn't-
If I could I buy all my cars used. I won't buy a new car.
Well, good.
'Cause
And
it's
next
like-
year you can get a used one of these because the rich people who buy these, they don't want to drive it for more than a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the taillights are stupid looking.
Oh, it's all
But other-
dusty. Muffy, buy another one. Yeah, you're right. I don't like the taillights. I think you would
But-
actually like the Mach-E, but you won't be able to get a used one yet. I just got a new one, so you have to wait a year or two for that.
That's okay. I'm patient. I don't really drive.
What do you
that
think
many
now
places.
this is the back view of those lights, of the rear lights? That's
Oh,
so
they're
bad.
better in the back. Okay.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
That's very Audi.
The arrows were just kind of gimmicky. I
Yeah.
guess.
And look at
The
that.
inside looks
very
nice.
Audi.
I like the
Yeah,
red.
it looks
I'm like, it's pretty.
Yeah. Red accent.
How does your new car drive, Leo? compared
Beautifully.
To your Tesla?
Beautifully. It has it's I had a Tesla with not ludicrous, not the highest acceleration, the insane, it was called, mode. But in order to do the insane mode, you have to stop the car, push both the brake and the accelerator all the way, wait a second, and then suddenly release them, and then it like launches you forward. And
God.
I used to take people on rides, but I realized I was almost redding out. I was getting lightheaded from the acceleration, and I thought, this is not safe. So
Oh,
I stopped,
wow.
so I,
No, that's
Not that bad, huh?
I stopped
Yeah,
doing
no.
that.
A friend of mine took me on ludicrous speed, and that is not actually a speed for humans. That is,
It's not good.
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. So the normal acceleration and peppiness of a Model X, or a Model S in Stacy's case, it absolutely does that. When you put your pedal to the metal, it goes, and it has little propulsion sounds that make it, depending on, you have 3 settings. Depending on how aggressive the setting is, it can sound like an actual Mustang. They actually pipe audio into the cab.
I don't need that.
You could turn that off. It's very
I like that
comfy.
my car was silent.
Yeah,
not
I
so
like
silent
that.
I killed squirrels, but
I
liked,
like that. And they, this is where I think Ford has a little edge over Tesla because they've been making cars for a while. The cabin is very quiet, much more quiet than my Tesla was. You don't hear windows
The
or
Tesla
anything.
is rattly and
Yeah.
does it have cup holders in the back?
It
'Cause
does.
That's also
Many.
nice.
It has cup holders. This is weird. It has cup holders in the front.
For your
Interesting.
body that you're storing there?
No, that I realized.
Allegedly.
So this was a late addition to this design. The front, like you have in your S, because there's no engine. So there's a front trunk, aka a frunk, that's small, but you could put 3 grocery bags in there or whatever. You could also put a body in there. And I realized what happened is there's a law that requires that if you do have a space like that, there should be an internal emergency release. So that if somebody's in there, they can get out.
Sure.
The Ford doesn't have that. So as a last-minute fix, they put dividers in there and a drain, so you could fill it with ice. It's got a drain, so the ice will melt and drain out. It's for tailgating.
Tailgating.
And it has cup holders.
We're
Okay.
going to take you to
And-
China.
Wine, beer can holders, huh?
Well, something holders. And I think the point of it is you can't put a body in there anymore because the dividers make it so you can't fit. Unless it's a small body.
Smaller body.
You could put a very small body in there. And actually the ice might be handy in that case.
We stored
Let's
Christmas
stop
presents
this.
in the frunk. And
Perfect.
it was actually brilliant because
nobody
I
can see
forgot the
them.
frunk existed,
Yeah.
and I'm notorious for
Yeah.
pirating through all my presents.
Right.
So
See, Andrew
yeah,
is smart.
that
He put all
worked,
your
worked for
stuff
like
in the
2
front.
years.
Oh,
Wow.
you figured it out now.
Well,
With-
only
with this
because I went to
testing.
store Anna's Christmas presents in there, and then
Now
I wonder where they're doing this testing in San Francisco. I know they've made a couple infrastructure changes in San Francisco as far as some streets are not drivable anymore. They're only for pedestrians walking around. Yeah, I wonder what's been gated off to do this testing, and what type of testing are they doing to really push the limits.
One of the things they've done, Waymo's optimized the what they call Waymo Driver, the self-driving software for San Francisco. It has additional cameras to spot jaywalkers, because as anybody who's driven in San Francisco knows, people just wander into the street willy-nilly.
Yep.
If the driver, the automated thing, pulls up to a bus by a crosswalk, it will presume that there's a bus, there's a crosswalk, people will be walking there. If it's driving on a street with road work, it understands that traffic cones and signs are meant to guide it out of the usual lane. So they've spiffed it up.
AI.
What about some of those Pacific Heights hills?
Wow.
Ooh.
Where you can't see over the hill.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it can,
you're
because
sitting
remember,
up.
these things have big stacks on the top with.
That's true.
You
Maybe
can see
that's
it here with
LiDAR.
LiDAR.
On the top,
They
yeah.
would probably do a better job than I would sitting on the driver's seat of
Oh,
seeing
that's a
over
point
that
then.
hill.
Yeah, okay.
Waymo is one of the few companies with a permit from the California Public Utilities Commission, which allows them to provide passenger service. Wow. So it doesn't say.
Who do you pay, I wonder?
I don't know. It doesn't say at where they drive.
I don't remember if it was the last CES you and I attended or if it was one prior to that, but I was in Vegas, down on the old side of Vegas near Fremont and all of that, and I saw a couple of the cars just zipping around down there, and I assumed they were testing it. I'm thinking
They were, yeah.
that's a pretty good idea. Instead of doing it out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, you need some obstacles around, and you need a few people out there. Hopefully they don't get hurt or injured during your testing, but it's nice to have
And,
that
and
data.
remember that Phoenix, which is where most of these, the Phoenix area where most of these companies have been testing it, Uber hit a pedestrian a few years ago. So this is the first expansion of Waymo past the Phoenix metropolitan area.
I wonder how Waymo does in fog. Yeah.
Well, probably better than you do.
People are
Yeah.
terrible
Probably.
in fog, but yeah. LiDAR is actually, well, I'm trying to think, how much the laser would
Does it
bounce off
reflect
of
or
water
not?
particles?
Yeah.
Don't know.
In Waymo's recent disengagement report, this is a report all self-driving companies put out. Disengagement means a safety driver had to take over, and the DMV in California requires that they submit this every year. The company reported 21 disengagements over 629,000 miles of driving in California. That's a very good rate of 0.033 per 1,000 miles.
So you're in a Waymo
so LiDAR
cab. There's no driver, and it disengages. Does it just stop at the side of the road and you're in the back seat and you
It
wonder what
pauses. In fact, that's one of the things people in the Phoenix area kept complaining about with the Uber self-driving technology, is they were a pain in the ass to drive behind, because it was like driving behind an extra cautious driver who just
Grandma.
paused for everything. And, I'm at a stop sign. They didn't like that. They would step on it, speed around them, honking, flipping them off, shooting. In fact,
Stacey, we were stepping over each other because the
Oh, that's
delay.
okay. I was saying that original LiDAR does not work well in fog, smoke, or snow.
Ooh.
But there are advances in LiDAR that send out more pings and more directions, and they do better. Multi-echo return LiDAR.
I shall ask
according to this article.
Sam Abul Samad about this. Our car
This
guy.
article is from 2016. So
Let's take a little break. More of the action coming up. Stacey Higginbotham from StaceyOnIoT.com, Jeff Jarvis, BuzzMachine.com, and from Hands On Photography, our very own Aunt Pruitt. Great to have all three of you. Our show today brought to you by Privacy.com. Whenever I use a credit card on the internet, every single time for the last 3 or 4 years, I use a credit card generated just for that purpose by Privacy.com. By generating virtual numbers, Privacy does a couple of things. It masks your real bank information, so your privacy is protected, and it prevents fraud. You could do 2 things with a privacy card. You can make a burner card that can only be used once, can never be used again. No problem handing that credit card number over to a merchant. they're never going to be able to use it again. Or you can create a credit card number that's tied to the merchant. So I have one for Amazon, one for Audible, one for Target, one for everybody I buy from online. And even if that number leaked out in a breach or was stolen, it could only, or used by some employee tried to use it, it could only be used at that merchant's. And of course, with privacy, you get a lot of reporting, including all the declines. So the minute you see a card misused, it's been stolen. You can pause it, delete it, create a new one. It's the pausing feature is great. I always use privacy.com cards to subscribe online, because you know how it is with subscriptions. You get charged every month. Sometimes you forget, or they make it hard to cancel. I just look through my privacy cards and pause any card I don't want to continue, and they can't use it. You can control your subscriptions and recurring payments, so you're never accidentally billed twice. You're never upgraded to another service without your consent. You can also set a spending limit with the service. So, I know that subscription is $50 a year. I could set it to $50. They can't overcharge you. And I wish I had this when I signed up for a gym membership about 5 years ago. I canceled the gym membership, but they kept charging me for training for 6 months. When I finally got around to calling the credit card company, they said, well, we can only turn it around for 3 months, so you're out of luck. Had I used privacy, no problem. I just paused the privacy card. No jumping through difficult customer service hoops. They just block the charges. They'll also, of course, notify you if someone tries to charge over the allotted amount, so you always stay within your budget. It's easy to use. You can go to the webpage, privacy.com, but there's also a Chrome and Firefox extension. There's an app for iOS and Android. The Firefox and Chrome extensions will fill out the credit card information automatically with one click. You can easily share cards. I buy my mom dinner because she's 88 and she doesn't like to cook anymore. So I sent her a privacy.com card so she could use DoorDash whenever she wants. And it's tied to DoorDash on first use. The minute she uses it, it can only be used for DoorDash. And I didn't have to email it to her or send her a screenshot or a text message that she had to fill in. I just clicked the share button when I created the card. I entered the email address. Privacy handled the rest. You'll love the account summaries. Last year at tax time, it was very easy for me to put together all of my charges. So, and by the way, it's nice. You'll always know how much you've been spending any given month. There's a summary page, good for budgeting. It can filter by date, by how much you've spent. No need to guess where your money's going. So let me explain how this works. You tie it to your bank account or your debit card. It's not a charge card. You don't run a balance, which frankly I kind of like. I just use it. It gets debited out of my account. That's that. So it's kind of like writing a check, but it's completely private. It's amazing. So it's also preserves privacy. Protect your financial identity online. Protect your money online with virtual cards from privacy.com. Go to privacy.com/twig. When you sign up for a new account, you'll automatically get $5 to spend on your first purchase. Privacy.com/twig. There's a free tier. I actually, just a little pro tip. There's 3 different tiers. I used the free tier for a long time, and then I realized if I pay $10 a month for the next tier up, I get 1% cash back. And given that I use privacy so much, I make money on that one easily. The $10 a month. What? You didn't know about this?
No, I didn't know that.
Go look at the pricing page.
Wait a minute.
That's a pro tip. I'm telling you, a little pro tip. So the personal, which is probably all anybody needs, is free. But I do the pro, $10 a month, but you get 1% cash back. And since I usually get, $50 or $60 a month back, that $10 is...
Oh, my goodness.
It's well spent. There's also a Teams plan for people who have businesses and want to create cards for all their employees and that kind of thing. Privacy.com/twig. And I won't even charge you for the pro tip. You get $5 to spend on your first purchase. Thank you, Privacy. I've been using them for long before they started advertising, for years, and I just think it's the absolute best way to go. Used to be credit cards. Discover used to do this. My Amex used to do this. Would generate one-time use numbers. They all stopped doing that for some reason. But even then, the way Privacy does it is 10 times better, in my opinion. Privacy.com/twig. Okay. I promised Jeff I would never utter the word Facebook on this show.
No, what you sort of promised was you wouldn't bait me to try to piss me off.
One man's bait
is
is
fine to
another
talk
man's
about.
poison.
Fine. I'm fine to talk about Facebook.
Facebook pulled the news feed out of Australia.
Well, no. It pulled news out of the news feed.
I misunderstood
because
that.
They would be forced, because they would be forced to pay for links to news. They said, okay, then neither news organizations nor users may link to news in Facebook. And it already is happening. It'll put up a box. I haven't seen this.
I bet that makes
Evidently,
Facebook
even if you're outside,
better in Australia. I might move to Australia now.
Wow.
So there's two interpretations I have, right? The nice interpretation is Facebook stood on principles in favor of the link. I could argue that for a while, not very long, but a little while. The cynical.
Wait a minute, Stacy's eating
view.
waffles. That is not okay. Did you bring enough for the whole podcast?
I muted my mic and everything.
Yeah, but I
Are
happen
they
to look.
sweet or savory?
They look savory.
Okay.
They look good.
I'm going to tell you, the Eggo Belgian waffles with cinnamon on them
Oh
are
man.
basically like funnel cakes, but better because they're not as greasy. They're freaking delicious.
It's Stroop time. Everybody get a waffle Stroop. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
All right, back to Facebook.
No, I know. This was a conspiracy. You said to Stacy, hey, just when Jeff starts going off, start eating the waffle. And then I can go to you and talk about the waffle, and then Jeff's off, and that's that.
Hey, I think we should have
All
a
right.
little theme song. Now is the time when we stroop waffle on twig. And we have a little song. We all have a stroop waffle. What do you think?
Waffle dance.
Please.
That's
waffle,
my dummy.
waffle,
Thank you.
waffle,
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 waffle.
waffle.
Or you could hashtag waffle. Hashtag because they're
Yesterday
like
was Shrove Tuesday, which was Pancake
Waffle.
Day in
Pancake
much of the
Day.
world.
You know what?
Pancake
That's so
Day.
cool. That's right. And then that means Carnival is next week.
not
right?
happening
Today's Ash
because
Wednesday, so
Lent.
Oh.
Oh.
Do you have to give up caramel waffles for Lent?
I am not Catholic or a Lent person, so I don't have to give up anything.
Waffle dance! Waffle, 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 waffle. Okay, Jeff, go ahead. So, see, this is the
So the
problem with
cynical-
calling
the
it.
cynical
It's the
approach.
problem with calling it the news feed. That's what confused me. The
Exactly.
news feed
I know.
isn't
I know.
news of
well, it's
newspaper
news to you and
It's
your friends and
family,
your family, but it's not
news.
news.
Which is
It's
good.
not
I think it
now
should-
the news.
I would like it if Facebook were just the family news.
So the cynical view is, all right, we're going to use this as an excuse. We're going to revert to parties and puppies and getting laid. That's what Facebook started as. That's what it's back to. Parties, puppies, and getting lucky. And so screw the news. News is a hassle. News is controversial. News causes us to hire moderators. News gets us in trouble. So fine, we're going to use little old Australia for a tiny little test brought on by Rupert Murdoch. That's the cynical view, right? And so, you know, I get it. It may make for a nicer Facebook. It makes for a nicer life for them. But when your Uncle Joe comes in and has his disinformation, you know, if you just took hydroxychloroquine, you wouldn't need vaccines. And you want to say, no, Uncle Joe, let me show you this news story. Can't do that, right?
Well,
And so
why not
who knows what
use-
happens?
So, but won't this allow the likes of the news stations to thrive a little bit more because they'll be considered a little bit more reliable if you have to actually go there to get the news versus
Well,
third
aren't
party?
you an optimist, Ant? Do you think people are going to go there? I saw
I'm an
a tweet.
optimistic devil's advocate today. How about
Oh,
that?
the people who think they're wrong on the internet, they have time. They will go and get the corresponding documentation to let you know, Uncle Joe, you're wrong. And here's like 6 New York Times articles. Here's one from, the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
Believe me, they will let you know, and they will go and get the
So-
information they need.
And to answer your question, a guy named Leonardo Puglisi, who's the founder of 6 News AU, an independent and unbiased news outlet in Australia, tweeted today, Facebook is actually banning news. I can't believe it. That's pretty much a third of our viewers. If this applies to
Ooh,
Instagram,
ow.
we're really done for, he said.
Ooh, bad.
Because that's how they find their audience. Go back to earlier discussion about Google, if I'm allowed to, where the value exchange here is that Google sends you audience. It's not Google uses your content. Same for Facebook. The value exchange is these places get audience because, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll click and I'll go there. Remember, in a world where you're the destination, the New York Times had to reduce the number that defined you as a frequent user, wherein you would hit the paywall, from like 10 pages a month to 5. If you hit more than 5 pages a month at the New York effing Times, you were considered a frequent user. So, no, I'm afraid your optimism is charming, but probably too optimistic.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, he just said, okay, doesn't apply to Instagram, I think. Phew.
Wow. But honestly, who's responsible for that situation? I mean,
which situation?
It's not Facebook's, well, the situation that taking news out of the news feed hurts a news publisher. It's not Facebook's responsibility to drive him traffic.
Amen.
And maybe he shouldn't have built his business on Facebook.
Amen.
Well, but they got used this way by the act. Well, but here's the problem. Yeah, you're right. We publishers also should have provided the mechanism for people to talk about the news and share it outside of horrible, poisoned comments sections we didn't care about. We should have created Nextdoor where you could meet your neighbors and talk about what's going on around, but we didn't. So people went to Facebook and Twitter and Google with the news. And Facebook then, whether they wanted to or not, and I don't think they ever wanted to, but they found themselves, they had a role in the news ecosystem of society. And it is a question as to whether or not it's irresponsible to just drop that. Now, they've got a perfect excuse. Hey, we had to. The Australian law, right? Murdoch made us do it. And I heard from... In each of these cases, I heard after the fact. I got an email from PR people at each of the companies after they had done it, not before. And I exchanged with the one at Facebook and kind of said, well, I see two theories here. And they said, yeah, we're watching that. I don't think they know what to think inside Facebook either. It's a gutsy move here.
I think
and it's also a way they separate themselves from Google.
There's a pathology.
What are the options for these publishers now, though, with not having that vehicle?
Marketing, spending a lot on marketing.
Okay, but marketing where? Let's say this was supplied to Facebook and Twitter as well. So what's the vehicle?
TV, billboards, all old mass media marketing mechanisms. That's when people demonize targeting too. This is like, hey, I found somebody in this neighborhood who's interested in sports or interested in cameras. I can send them my camera section to this guy named Ant. Oh, no, can't do that. Right. So how the heck did they find you?
Well, all right. Let me. This might lead into a more interesting area, which is how do you find? How do you?
Sorry, that wasn't interesting enough.
I have no. Believe me, anything to do with Facebook, I'm not interested in. I think Facebook's a blight,
and I think it's doesn't want to talk about.
I think it's a pathology. Well, the reason you don't want me to talk about it is because every time I talk about it, I say what a pathological thing Facebook is. And it's a pathology on the part of the news media to depend on Facebook. I believe in the value.
But Ant's question is exactly right. How else this is where our media ecosystem is right now. How else do they do it?
Well, so that's my question. How do you, okay, I don't use Facebook, so here's what I do.
You can build on, go on. You're going to tell us. Go ahead. Sorry.
Here's what I do to get news. I go every morning. I go to Tech Meme. Now it's tech news, but there are I'm sure other sites like this. And I also use a feed reader, an RSS reader. Although I find Tech Meme, because it has editorial judgment, Gabe Rivera and team pick the top news stories. Then and it's all right here, by the way. And then I go to Nuzzle, which in the case of Nuzzle is actually
Twitter still.
It's aggregating Twitter stories, but I don't have to see Twitter. I don't even have to see the tweets. I just see. Here, I'll quickly log in through Twitter so you can see it.
The problem is you don't see what someone says about it. They could hate the thing they link to, or they could love the thing they link to, and you don't know which it is.
So actually, I take it back. So here's the story, which, by the way, #1 story, changes to sharing and viewing news on Facebook in Australia. And it's what's nice is this link is to the direct link to the Facebook post. And here's John Battel's thought about it. Chris Hayes.
All right, you do see it there.
Here's Kara Swisher's.
Okay.
Here's Kevin Roos. So this tends to be less tech, but this is a good source. I like it because it is pulling from Twitter, so it is crowdsourcing the stories, but I don't have to go to Twitter so much. Then I go to Reddit.
But if Twitter didn't exist,
this is not Twitter. So then I go to Reddit, and Reddit, of course, there's a lot of crap on Reddit, but there's also, you choose what you see on Reddit because it's not algorithmic. It gives you exactly what was in that subreddit. So I choose the subreddits that I'm interested in, including, as you can see, the Mustang Mach-E. Anyway, and then then I go to Reddit. Then I go to another curated site that I really like. This is Y Combinator's Hacker News, which is a place where geeks post stories they're interested in. And then it actually is really great because the comments are fantastically
probably
useful.
A lot smarter.
Very smart comments. They have some of the Reddit/Twitter problem, which is the comments often, the first few comments or the highest ranked comments, by the way, they're ranked, not chronological, are usually valuable, and then you get a little bit sometimes of insider talk. But I find this to be a really good source. There's another one, and I wish I could get a membership to this, which is a Hacker News, but it's hard to get a membership. It's similar stories, but it's called Lobsters, LOBSTE.RS, and it's also geek stories. Then the final thing I do is also crowdsource, which is the popular bookmarks on Pinboard. So in other words, without a single stop at Facebook, I'm able to go, and there's more, but this, I don't want to go on and on, but I'm able to go to half a dozen sites and if I do this every morning and afternoon, which is pretty much what I do, I get all the stories that we're going to talk about. This works pretty well for me, and I don't need Facebook to do this. And so I'm curious, Stacy, what do you do? I'm sure you do a similar beat check, or you must have in your news days.
Yes, I have Nuzzle. I don't usually pop over to TechMeme very often, but and then I use the financial. Actually, up until like 2 years ago, I used Yahoo Finance because I
still use it.
I still read that.
You can create your portfolio. So I just get news on all the publicly traded companies. It's just right there on one page.
Yeah. It's
actually
it's pretty good. I mean, Google has its own finance. I mean, there are other pages like this.
Yeah, Google Finance is not as good from the news perspective, and it actually wasn't good for a while. And even like financial stuff, I was like, oh, come on, Google.
But this is I think, a really valuable way to get financial news. You cover that more than I do. Is there an IoT place you go? Oh, Roaring Kitty being sued for securities fraud. Wait a minute. Ruh-roh. Keith Gill, the guy on the
that hearing
Wall
was
Street
tomorrow
for him. Federal court in Massachusetts. The suit said Gill, this is interesting, was actually a licensed securities professional who manipulated the market to profit himself.
What? A short seller acting unethically?
What? So he was the face of the GameStop rally. And the guy on the Reddit subreddit, the Stonks subreddit, who got everybody to buy GameStop.
I could have sworn that hearing was tomorrow. I didn't know it was today.
Anyway, that's from Yahoo Finance. Do you do IoT? Is there any IoT sources you must comb through those?
There's a couple newsletters, and I also have a Google alert for various terms that are relevant. But
that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
There's not a lot of really awesome IoT sites. So, yeah, it's about an hour a day combing through newsy things.
I pretty much spend most of my free hours not on the shows, pretty periodically checking all of these sources. And there's a lot of, and then this is, by the way, my news folder on Firefox. Then I have Tech Dirt, of course, and The Guardian and Wall Street Journal Tech. This is a great site, forecast.com with a K. This is a calendar of things, like it says it's Ash Wednesday. It's also Kosovo Independence Day and Random Act of Kindness Day. So
awesome.
Everybody do a random act of kindness. So I have a large folder with a lot of stuff, and not one of them is any way related to Facebook. And there's only
what I was going to say is I was going to ask actually how you find your audience, not how you find your news, because that's what Jeff seems to be kind of honing in
that's
on.
interesting.
Well, that's what the publishers are worried about.
So
yeah.
I guess
Right.
I'm a publisher. Yeah, I mean, Twitter's a publisher. I have a kind of unusual go-to-market strategy. I let them find me. Honestly, because I'm a terrible marketer.
I am a terrible marketer. I just did our survey and like, hey, y'all, thanks. Like 35% of my newsletter subscribers come from Twit.
Oh,
Twit? Yes.
you're very welcome.
Twig.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Twig. I should get the name right.
You know what? Get a waffle for that one. That's good.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, thanks, y'all.
Nice.
Like all of y'all. All y'all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But we actually did some advertising on Facebook very early on, and we did find some interesting people. But they didn't stick around, so it's just basically like a growth game through word of mouth and Twitter and being places, which is kind of sucky, but it's kind of how you have to do it.
We post on social media. We have a marketing team, Jerry and Masako.
I am the marketing team.
Yeah, they post on social media and stuff. We bought in the past. I don't know if we still do it. Google Ads. I never did that in the beginning. The biggest audience we've had, was all without any marketing. I guess in a way I got marketed by Tech TV for 6 years, and that was the marketing.
You had a nice army from the get-go.
Yeah.
So
I brought
helps.
them. Yeah,
that's the key.
Yeah.
Because I pulled a bunch of people from like my Giga Ohm and Fortune days. Although some of those people are very confused by what they find.
Yeah.
They're like, I thought you wrote about broadband. I'm like, sort of.
My question, if you're looking at it as if this is going to happen, next month, and we can't get our news from the social media platforms, how long is it going to take to train society to not go to those platforms to look for the news? Because there are people in this world, as you all know, that consider Facebook their internet.
I don't think those people
or will they
really
just see
care
a lot
about
less news?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go searching.
We're the odd
I think
ones
they
here.
just, yeah.
That's the point. So Facebook, when they reduced the news, it was from like 5% to 4% when they got in trouble before, because news was trouble, right? And as I said, when they started News Tab, where, by the way, before Facebook did pay NewsCorp for that already about a year ago, more than a year ago. Zuckerberg on stage kind of said, we don't know if anybody's going to watch this. It's going to take a long time to get anybody to go to News Tab. So they know that most of their readers, we are the odd ones. We are the news whales, they call us.
Okay.
They're
Not news hounds?
We're the weird ones. No, news whales.
I don't want to be a
Where's
whale.
the rim shot on that one?
You're a whale.
Dear.
How do you get news, Jeff? You don't have to do what Stacy and I do, which is generate content every day. But do you have a news beat check?
Yeah, I mean, I start with Twitter. I also go to my lists. I have my COVID list. I have my happy place, which is my book history wonks list. I have a media wonks list. I use the list. I use Twitter a lot. I go to Facebook, but not as much for news. But I see that first, and then I will end up looking down the New York Times page and the Washington Post page. So I do go to the destinations, which is what all news organizations want you to do. But that's a really odd behavior now. People don't go to the destinations. They end up going there via links, and then they'll find something more and more and more.
I do, but I tell you, I find it, it's same thing with Twitter, not as information rich as the sites that I mentioned. So after I've done all that, I might go look at the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Information. But it's not as nutrient dense. Same thing with Twitter, and I do the lists too. I have your COVID list, I use TweetDeck. I've got your COVID list. I've got Ohm's list of his top 25 tech reporters. I've got a larger tech journalist list that Robert Scoble created long ago. And so that's there, but it's not as rich. It's not as media.
Well, the other thing I do, Leo, is every Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, I spend a couple hours getting ready for the show.
Thank you.
And I go to. But here's the odd thing, because Google News screwed this up a couple years ago. Google thinks I'm an idiot because I go to Google and I search for the word Google so I can then click on the news tab under that, because going to Google News and searching for Google doesn't get me anything. Doing that gets me Google. So I go through
Oh,
Google,
yeah.
Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, and so on. Then I go to my newsletters that I like, my Benedict Evans, and I subject you to his essays, and Azim Azar and others. And then I go to Axios pretty regularly and see what they have. And these are the ways that I feed into the rundown.
Yeah, and that's what I
now
use
Jason comes in at
RSS
3
for.
o'clock.
Again, I'm really trying to not have to go to individual sites. I'm trying to get the kind of a nutrient dense source of information. So a newsletter this is InnoReader, which I use. So I have a tech news section, but I also have a blogs section, and so this gives me a very quick scan of a lot of tech news. But by the time I get here, I've probably seen every story. I'm looking at this point for kind of the offbeat stuff, like
Yeah, by the time I go to New York Times, I've seen half of what I care about.
Yeah. Like, for instance, the Charlotte Observer. I don't know.
Boy.
How did you find this story, Jeff?
Oh my gosh.
It was my TikTok search on Google News.
There you go. There's
a feta shortage.
Can't find feta cheese in Charlotte.
Oh
And
my
aren't you
gosh.
glad you moved?
Boy, am I.
Blame this TikTok trend. Apparently, there is a TikTok trend for baked feta
Oh, it's a big deal.
pasta.
It's probably all in South Park.
Wait, what, baked feta pasta?
Yeah, you put in the tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes, we salt and oil them. Put some
oil,
feta
pepper,
in.
salt.
We're making some macaroni.
Garlic, fresh basil, and give it all a good mix. Then add some of that cooked pasta right on top and give everything.
Ooh, that does look
looks
good.
Damn.
I would eat that.
Isn't it?
Okay.
Well, good luck getting feta in the Fetaverse.
Wow.
The Fetaverse is out of feta.
Wow.
According to the Washington Post, the baked feta pasta dish first originated in Finland in 2018. The Fresh Market told Charlotte 5, your Channel 5 News in Charlotte, that since January 25th, its feta sales have
Team coverage.
team coverage of feta sales increased by 45%. Prompting,
Charlotte 5, they
power
target
of
that
TikTok.
market, though.
they target that Charlotte market. So,
No, I'm saying they target that demographic, the people that are in that TikTok averse, if you will, that are doing those types of
the
stories.
Fresh Market in Charlotte obviously is very hip because they immediately made a video on Facebook
Oh boy. Of course.
on how to make baked fresh feta pasta.
Washington Post says TikTok's viral baked feta pasta is worth the hype.
Ooh, they
Well,
put in
yeah,
a
it
lot
is.
more garlic. Look at that.
Whoa, wow.
Garlic makes everything better.
Agita.
You know what? I'm making this tonight if I can find some
That does
feta.
look good. I don't do the garlic like that, but that does look good.
Cherry tomatoes right now, not in season, so.
What else? What's next? What was that?
That was
Oh, a little
balsamic
balsamic.
vinegar.
Oh.
Bake 30 minutes
Bake
until
30
This
minutes.
looks really good. Whoa. See, if you have more than a minute, you could put more
Basil.
ingredients in. And you smush it all up. They've got a little fresh basil
Oh,
in
that
there.
person's being very gentle.
Yeah, they're smushing it. Now you put the macaroni.
Or whatever pasta.
Oh.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Take that,
I think you have
cacio
it
e
with
pepe.
parm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good.
It's kind of basically Greek
It
macaroni
does.
and cheese, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons
You-
of. I mean, we make something called stoplight
Yeah,
spaghetti
there's
that
lots
is
of recipes.
basically this, except we add zucchini.
Wait a minute, I want to know about stoplight spaghetti.
Stoplight spaghetti.
That's
Oh,
a-
it's because we have green zucchini and yellow and red tomatoes,
Okay.
and so it's stoplight, and then it's just garlic, olive oil, and basil, and pasta and parm.
No worries. You lost me at zucchini.
You don't like the porch
I was out.
squash, eh? Ant.
I don't like squash at all.
All right.
At
No
all.
squashes?
Really?
None.
No
And
delicata,
my family
no
loves
spaghetti.
fried squash.
I'm going to ask
How
the.
about grilled squash?
Oh, it's
Grilled
good.
zucchini is okay.
You know, when Lisa makes her very famous ragu bolognese, her meat sauce, she'll also make Marcella Hazan's famous 45-minute pasta sauce marinara, which is Very simple. Half an onion, stick of butter, can of San Marzano tomatoes. You cook it for 45 minutes. It's fantastic marinara. And we'll make zoodles, zucchini noodles. She likes hers steamed. I like mine sautéed, so we split them in half. And then we put that, and it's a delicious, delicious dish. You would love it, Aunt. You come on over. I'll give you the steak, and I'll have the noodles.
No, Aunt,
that's much better.
Those are zoodles.
Fried
you can't call them
zucchini.
noodles.
Zoodles.
They're zoodles.
They're zoodles, and I love zoodles.
No, I don't. No. And I got it for you. Fried zucchini, breaded fried zucchini. It's basically French fries.
It's French fries with a vegetable
Yo, are we
center.
talking about food again? Let's get to the changelog, man.
I will, but I want to talk real quickly with the journalists in the House about the Supermicro story. Remember, in 2018, October 2018, Bloomberg published a long, heavily anonymously sourced story about a supply chain attack, apparently from China, that involved taking Supermicro motherboards, which are on their way to the Department of Defense and many other places, including our studios, and embedding a...
They're so bored with what they find from you.
I know. They listened in and they said, what is this? He's talking about
Oh,
zoodles?
what is this? They're
What
talking
is
about
it,
feta
zoodles?
cheese every week.
Feta.
What? I don't get this.
Do they have any good Chinese recipes? Anyway, they put a rice-sized grain. These are multi-layered boards. They could put them, embed them almost invisibly on the board. Looks like a solder, and then it turns the computer into basically a spy machine for China. Universally, Amazon, which makes the Elemental systems that have the Supermicro board on it, and that's what we've got in our rack. To Apple, to everybody else, said that never happened. It's a BS story. Even security guru Bruce Schneier said, yeah, I don't think that happened. Well, Bloomberg on Friday doubled down with an even longer story, even better sourced, in which they said...
Is it really, though?
Well, that's the question.
This is some squishy sourcing, and they didn't link to their original article. There's so many things in this article that feel like... I don't know how these guys sleep. Like... I was sick to my stomach after the first story came out and everybody started saying, nope, nope. And I was like, oh my God, these poor reporters. But having gone this far without, and then doubling down on this with knowing that their last story was so vilified, questioned. I don't know the right word I'm looking for here. You would think they would do after what, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3? They would have some proof, like hardcore proof. And if you don't have proof, you don't come back to the table. I mean, this story is so confusing to me.
The Bruce Schneier posted an article on his blog this week saying, I think I was wrong. This might be a legitimate story. And but then others, including a security researcher with a bizarre Twitter handle, which I've forgotten, but said no.
What does Steve say?
Steve has not yet looked at this. He's not really an expert on this particular topic, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's like hardware security, not necessarily.
Well, it's also nation state spying, hacking. Certainly, by the way, something that does happen. It's not, nobody's gainsaying that this happens. In fact, we know the NSA has done it with Cisco systems on China. So we know we do it, and I'm not surprised to hear that China does it. I'm interested to hear your take on it, Stacy. They did add Lenovo to the Supermicro. In both cases, they said neither company is likely responsible. It's a supply chain attack as this gear makes its way to the end users. They quote a lot of people. What some experts have said is they've misinterpreted the briefings that the intelligence community gave. I just think it's very interesting they came back to the table.
I think it's interesting, but I guess I don't understand why they came back to the table with this. It's not like they're under time pressure unless we're going to see some sort of news come out, like the NSA is actually going to show us a board and they wanted to be ahead of that story. So that is something I'd look for, right? Actual physical proof that some government is going to unveil, which is why these guys pushed. Because I don't know, it's like I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, but it's not. It's a weak sauce story from a sourcing perspective, from a even validation to their other one.
Matt Tate, who is a former GCHQ consultant and now senior cybersecurity fellow at the Robert S. Strauss Center for International Security and Law, and uses the pwn all the things handle on Twitter. He essentially said it's articles like this are constructed out of parts. They're a series of claims attributed to collections of sources grouped into an overall story. He says, as far as he's concerned, it's a misunderstanding on the part of the sources on what they were told. I'm not, but I have to say, I feel like the lady doth protest too much. I'm not sure why he's taking on such a strong position on this, when in fact there is absolutely no reason to doubt that this kind of thing happens, and supply chain attacks like this are among the most dangerous faced by intelligence agencies. So maybe I mean, I believe it. I'll be honest with you, I believe it at this point. I think there's enough information in this news story to make it credible. We know it happens anyway. Why does he have such an interest in debunking this particular story when, in fact, you know, this is something that happens all the time? And really the moral of the story, as I said 2 years ago, is beware of your supply chain.
True.
How, though?
Well, it's a very difficult thing to do. Look at the SolarWinds attack. That worked because people trusted a security company called SolarWinds, and it was widely used, and in fact, it was hackable and had been hacked. That's another supply chain thing. I think I don't understand why Matt Tate is making such a big deal about this. I honestly feel like it's suspicious. He used to work for GCHQ, which was very much denial of this the first time around. That's the British government communications headquarters, their spy agency. I think there's a certain amount of vested interest in some intelligence agencies to say this doesn't happen, when in fact we know it does.
We know it happens. I guess maybe we'll wait to see if some other shoe drops soon. The accusations against Supermicro and the infiltration into Amazon and Apple are so inflammatory.
Well, they're very careful in this Bloomberg story to say we are not asserting that Supermicro is doing this. We think they're blameless.
I mean, it is a hugely damaging thing to say that your gear was targeted for this attack.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they're at fault or not. You know, if you're the, I don't know, if you're the, never mind. I was going to make an STD metaphor, and I'm not going to do that. So, moving right along.
Yeah, I don't have information to say it's true or not. I find it interesting that Bloomberg a year and a half, almost 2 years, more than 2 years later, is
3
back.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, it's back again with a similar story and more information. Amazon denies, Apple denies, Supermicro denies.
So once again, if it were true, what's at risk? What's happened? What could be? What should we start fearing tomorrow?
The real point is this is a very easy thing to do, and it does happen, and we do it, and it's presumed others are doing it to us, and that's the real.
You can pull data off those servers. I mean, the idea is by putting this chip on, you can
undetectably, permanently hack these.
Pull data off of anything off of that server.
Yeah, and it's not about hacking like ransomware. It's about hacking like espionage.
Yeah.
It's espionage, basically.
Totally different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm asking the journalists and the working journalists in the bunch, because I don't have enough information to know whether it's true or not.
Yeah, this story has confused me from the beginning.
Yeah.
I just, based on everything they showed me, I still don't buy it. And it's not just because people are like, nope. It's just looking at what they put in the story. It feels really confusingly incomplete. That's what I would say.
Yeah, like they should have a hacked motherboard.
They should have a hacked motherboard, or they should have someone on the record who has seen and not dissected, who can say, I held this thing in my hands and this is true.
Yeah.
The
Especially,
closest
but you're right. To open it up again without that much of a leap. I think that's a good analysis.
Or having like real named sources who are not just like who are directly the sources are like third degree sources.
Yeah, they're third hand. Yeah. It's people who were briefed by intelligence agencies. But on the other hand, I wouldn't expect intelligence agencies to say anything. For one thing, one of the issues is...
But where are the technologists, Leo? Where are the people? Like, nobody who's in this industry. Like, I know the people who work at Supermicro, right? You know the people, the sysadmins who are dealing with this at Apple, or if, you know, those people would confirm or help this person find the story. And you don't see them anywhere.
Darren Mott, who oversaw I'm quoting from the story, who oversaw counterintelligence investigations in the FBI's Huntsville, Alabama satellite office, said, and this is the third hand, a well-placed FBI colleague described key details about the added chips for him back in October 2018. Quote, what I was told was there was an additional little component on the Supermicro motherboards that was not supposed to be there, said Mott, who has since retired. He emphasized the information was shared in an unclassified setting. Nobody would ever say it was classified because then they'd be prosecutable, obviously. The FBI knew the activity was being conducted by China, knew it was concerning, and alerted certain entities about it. Mott said at the time he advised companies that had asked him about the chips to take the issue seriously. So it's a lot of that.
And so when those things come up, because I sit with people all the time who tell me very juicy bits of information. And then as a journalist, you run through and sometimes you hit a wall. Sometimes you cannot find the first hand person. And
I wouldn't expect the intelligence community to leak on this. So it is.
No, if you have the right sourcing, you should be able, they may not leak on the record for you, but they will tell you, they will point you in the right direction and help you get to the story. I mean, read Lawrence Wright's writing about Syria, for example, or, you know, there are plenty of really good, like, national security reporters. If you look at how they report, this story does not meet the sourcing and the level of knowledge that those people have. And I think it's partially because, well, I don't know about these reporters. Are they national security reporters or are they tech reporters?
No, they're longtime security reporters.
Okay, well then maybe they don't. The other thing is maybe they don't understand what these people were talking about, although I think that's probably bogus because it's not rocket science. It's just building a freaking server. So I feel like someone who can cover national security could learn enough about that to understand, you know, boards and components. So some people have said like, they don't really understand tech. I'm like, guys, it's not that difficult.
It's so that's my question, because I don't think we can decide whether it's it's technically feasible.
Right.
It happens all the time. Whether this particular story is accurate is hard to determine. I'm more curious.
And Scooter X is pointing out this is actually true, and I do remember this. That some of the people after the first story, they came in and really did a lot of detailed searching for these devices and talked about how they did that, and you know, presumably they did not find anything.
Yeah. Well, including our own father, Robert. But I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting that
Can I ask you another question before you? Okay.
Yeah. Bloomberg Business Week, which is a reliable journalistic entity.
It's so weird.
You know, they took a lot of heat back in October 2018, and the fact that they're willing to come back and do more with more information.
They could have let it lay.
Yeah.
Or is it lie?
Yeah. What's your question, Jeff?
Just the Nothing, the Seinfeld company. OnePlus's co-founder found Nothing.
Carl Pei from OnePlus started a company called Nothing, bought Andy Rubin's the IP from Andy Rubin's failed Essential phone. Yes. And it's, by the way, probably a home automation play, as Sir Stacy's.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking. What is it?
We're wondering what the heck this is going to be. Kevin and I almost put it on the show this week, and I was like, I'll just stick it in the newsletter because we don't have enough details. But
remember that Essential did that failed phone.
But
and
they
then,
also had
Yes.
the smart home automation
Exactly.
plan that was going to be intuitive smart
Exactly.
home, right? But we never saw anything tied to that at all.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Did he buy just the brand or did he buy technology?
He bought all the intellectual property.
Oh, you did buy all the IP. Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although I think there's some question about the patents, so I'm not sure what he got.
Plus, it's an
Speaking,
unusual funding structure.
oh, is it?
Where
I
if you
didn't look
sign
at-
up
see
now,
that.
yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up. So it's, you sign up now, and you can between 50 and 20,000 euro, alongside Google Ventures, or GV, as it's now called.
Oh, I think you're right. It says Carl Pei tweeted, "We acquired Essentials trademarks," which is worthless.
Yeah.
You're right. They didn't get the
And
technology.
the
not if-
team,
not if your
Neistat
company's
is
called
on there?
nothing.
Right. Now it's called
right?
something.
Thank you. That's where I was going next, Ant. You look at the team. Steve Huffman is still CEO of Reddit.
Right.
He's on the team here.
He is?
Casey Neistat. Yeah.
Casey
Patty
Neistat.
Crosby.
What? Oh, this sounds,
I'm trying to.
Carl was
That's
a
what I'm
good
trying to get
was
a
a
finger to the wind about.
marketer more than a technologist. Okay. He says we're building an ecosystem of smart devices. We'll start with simpler products, wireless earbuds. We're going to have multiple products throughout the year, not just audio products. Eventually, we want to build it so these devices talk to each other.
Yeah, that's like. I mean,
Does
that's
this perk
everybody's-
your interest or make you perk your BS scale?
Honestly, when he was CEO at OnePlus, they got a lot of heat for their marketing campaigns. They had that, invite on weird way of selling phones, which they abandoned.
And I fell for it.
Yeah. I fell for Andy Rubin's Essential phone. So there's that. One last story.
All right, thanks. I wanted your finger to the wind here. Yeah.
Yeah, one last story before we get to the changelog, because that's next. There's so many stories we still have to cover. But I should mention, we talked about this yesterday on Security Now, there is an Android app called Share It. It's still on the Google Play Store. More than 1 billion downloads. 1 billion with a B downloads. It contains vulnerabilities and has for the last 3 months. The manufacturer has yet to fix them. The bugs can be exploited, according to a security analyst for Trend Micro, to run malicious code on smartphones where the Share It app is installed. Wow, including a man in the disk attack, which is a kind of a insecure storage of sensitive app resources in a location in the phone's storage space shared with other apps where they can be deleted, edited, or replaced by hackers. Share It has not responded to a request from ZDNet. It is still on the Play Store. Google hasn't pulled it down yet. Last time I checked, 1 billion downloads. So you might want to take that off your Android phone. And that's kind of one of many reasons why I'm not exactly an Android guy anymore.
What I don't
Yeah.
understand is this has 1 billion downloads, so this is clearly on the Android radar, and Google should
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
What's taking it so long to have this investigation escalated and
Let me
removed
just
from
check
the
and
store?
see if it says, yeah, it's still on the store.
What does it do?
It's a way to transfer files from one platform to another. Kind of like, I think it's like kind of like AirDrop.
Got it.
But I don't know. I've never installed it. Thank goodness.
I know.
Yeah, I never installed it either.
Never installed it. Verizon's bid $6 billion to buy Tracfone.
Which bothers some people because that's a way that
It's
poorer people
an expensive phone.
get a phone.
And I love this guy, Aaron Epstein. He bought a quarter-page ad in the Wall Street Journal bitching about AT&T's poor
That was awesome.
AT&T's poor internet service. He was getting
Next day, knock, knock, knock. Hello, Verizon at the door.
That was
It's
awesome.
a lot of money, $10,000 to buy that quarter-page ad, but I guess it worked. An open letter to John T. Stanky, CEO AT&T. Dear Mr. Stanky, AT&T prides itself as a leader in electronic communications. Unfortunately, for the people who live in North Hollywood, California, 91607, AT&T is now a major disappointment. So AT&T responded. They gave him fiber, but apparently did not give the neighbors fiber, even though they implied.
Oh my gosh, that is so AT&T.
See, that's just wrong.
Just
Isn't
bonkers.
He
For
now
$10,000, you could.
They'll get to it by the end of the year.
I think he must have had the 10,000. It was a principle because he also, because AT&T was so terrible, bought cable internet from Spectrum, which is also available, and so he now has a choice.
He also said this is a headquarters of a lot of creative people in Hollywood, and you're screwing this up.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't get on.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's a.
He should have taken to Twitter.
There'll be a movie. There'll be a movie. Mr. Epstein.
What was it, Mike? Was it Mike Arrington? Wasn't it one of the early cases of using Twitter for customer service? I think it was Mike Arrington.
Was it
crappy? I think it might have been AT&T. I can't remember.
Oh, really?
And
AT&T
complained, and
Comcast.
boom, they were out there the next day.
You know what I'd like to do next? Besides
waffle?
Eat a waffle. Before we eat the waffles, we're going to have to do your changelog. But first, a word from Nareva. This is actually a great solution for classrooms, conference rooms, anywhere you have a number of people who have to keep socially distant but want to use Zoom or Google Meet or Cisco WebEx or some sort of conferencing software. The problem is they're all faced in different ways. They're all far away from the microphone. It just is a mess. It sounds terrible. Nareva solves this with something I'm calling, they don't call it this, but I think it is, computational audio. We've all heard about computational photography, taking kind of a weak signal from a smartphone lens and turning into a beautiful image. That's what Nareva does with audio. In fact, they have 4 patents for what they call their microphone mist technology. Now, this isn't a beam-forming microphone. If you've tried these, you know that they're complicated. They have to be set up and adjusted by a technician that costs a lot of money. We're not talking about a tabletop system and the mics required, which have to be sanitized between meetings and don't work with, you have to put a sticker on the table and say, sit here, face this way. Not with Nareva. Not with Nareva. Nareva audio is designed for distancing. It's the first socially distanced mic system. They look like sound bars. You can mount them yourself on a wall. It's easy. Turn it on, and the microphone mist technology takes over. It fills the room with thousands of virtual microphones. You get full room coverage. People can be heard from anywhere, no matter where they sit, where they face, or how they're distanced. No technicians. You can do it yourself. You can install each microphone and speaker bar right there on the wall. It automatically adapts to any room configuration, which is great because it means you can move things around. You don't have to somehow calibrate it. It just knows. No wonder they've got 4 patents for their microphone mist technology. Named the top new technology at ISE 2020. That was the Nareva HDL 200 system. The HubSpot folks have a Nareva HDL 300 system. Jimmy Yan, their principal collaboration engineer, says, we were so impressed with the sound quality, the ease of install, and the ease of use of the HDL 300. It was a no-brainer for us to adopt it. Sound better with the magic of computational audio. The microphone mist technology. Very, very cool. I want you, if you're watching the video, you're seeing the images of the Nareva at work, but I want you to, if you're not watching the video, or just anyway, go to nareva.com/twit. You'll see a demo. You'll see what it looks like. You can figure out which ones are right for you. It's an easy thing to install, and boy, it makes a big difference in your space. N-U-R-E-V-A, nareva.com/twit. Nareva. Thank you, Nareva, for supporting This Week in Google. And thank you for supporting us by using that special URL. They'll know you heard it here if you go to nareva.com/twit, N-U-R-E-V-A. Boy, there's a lot of stories. Let me get the changelog because it's a big, long changelog. It's time for...
Guess not. Guess it's not the time for it.
Crickets. It's time for
It'll soon
crickets.
be the time for it.
Waffle time. Waffle, 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 waffle.
It's time for finding that button. Where did it go?
Want me to do it again? Well, they say it in there. That's why. It's time for the Google changelog.
The Google changelog.
So funny hearing Jammer be in the background yelling.
He was waiting for
What
me
kind
to
of
say,
artist blames his tools?
He was blaming me for not saying the Google changelog, but it says it there, so I thought it's time for, and then he would say the Google changelog.
I'm on Team Jammer B on this one. I think he's
Okay,
right.
my fault.
That's his cue. That's his cue.
That's his cue, and he's
you didn't
sticking
give
with
to
it.
him. Yeah.
Actually, the truth is the trumpet guys were all having a cigarette break. We had to get them rushed
Oh,
back
that's
into
what
the
it
studio.
was. Yeah, smoke.
They were admiring your car.
Yeah. Can't wait to get into it. A new video editor plus enhanced editing features in the Google Photos app.
This is great.
I think this is the one, though, that was on the Pixel and is now available to all Google One members, right? You have to have a Google One account.
Right. I do enjoy being able to have the simple video editing capabilities, just to trim and stuff like that for people trying to put things on social just for quick marketing and without having to go through the likes of a Power Director or Adobe
It's got
Rush.
some other things, though. It's got stabilization.
Yeah.
You can rotate your videos. You can crop, change perspective, add filters, granular edits, including brightness, contrast, saturation, and warmth. And now 30 controls. So there's quite a bit you can do. Yeah, and you don't have to leave Google Photos.
Oh yeah, I started playing with this. It's out now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it the other
thought
day.
we
and I
talked
was
about
like,
this last week, but I guess this is more.
No.
No?
No, sir.
I'm so confused. I do too many shows. The new video editing features are already available in Google Photos on iOS. We'll be rolling out to Android users in the coming months. Here's
well, no, then I don't have it.
what
was I using?
There you are. I don't know. And then I did mention last week the new features with the Google One membership, which include portrait, blur, portrait, light, color, pop, and the like. Google, that's the same story again. YouTube TV will add 4K streaming and more simultaneous streams, but you're gonna have to pay. Gonna have to pay. Who's gonna pay? The content guy, or do you have to pay to get it?
It's actually time I look at
Yes and the
YouTube
latter,
TV again because football season is over, so I'm not watching any live sports and don't feel the need to pay for live TV. And I just changed my Hulu package, but it's probably time to look back at YouTube TV and do another comparison. But I still remember hating the history button on there that showed up in my regular YouTube use from my TV use.
This is really more for kind of, I would say, the future. But 4K is YouTube has long invested in latest visual technologies. We now support SD, HD, 4K, VR, HDR, and live video on nearly every device with an internet connection. It's mind-boggling.
Woohoo.
From desktops to mobile and gaming consoles to VR headsets. Wow. Later this year, we'll redesign the YouTube VR app homepage to provide navigation, accessibility, and search functionality. They're really, it's good. They're busy. There aren't a lot of broadcast streams in 4K, but if there are one, YouTube TV will be adding support for 4K streaming, which would be nice. And this is an add-on package, so yeah, you're going to pay for it. The new add-on bundle will also enable offline downloads of recordings on YouTube TV. Oh, because you have a DVR, so now you'll be able to download what you've DVR'd and take it on the plane with you or whatever. And finally, this add-on package will also give families the ability to use YouTube TV on more devices at once. Right now, you're limited to 3 devices at a time. And if a fourth one gets on, it kicks off one of the previous viewers. It's kind of a little,
how convenient.
Yeah, a little Russian roulette. So there's no price. You were already paying $65 a month for YouTube TV. That's a cable. That's what cable bill used to be.
Exactly.
So frustrating. 50 updates for classroom, Meet, and other online education tools. I'm not going to tell you all 50 of them. What are you, crazy? What are you? Yeah. Waffle time. Waffle. Later this year, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all of those. There's a lot of them. If you're using Google Classroom Meet and Education, read about it. Material Design is coming to the web with a WordPress plugin.
Okay.
So if you're using WordPress and you want to be material, you can do it. Google Maps will now let you pay for public transportation and parking in the app. That's cool. It's really annoying when you get to a meter and you have to download the app for that little town's meter system or whatever. So
this is very cool to see.
Yeah. This will require, obviously, the cooperation of the parking folks in your place, but you tap on Pay for Parking. It's a button that appears as you near your destination. Enter your meter number, the amount of time, and tap Pay. It goes right through Google Pay. It'll be built into Google Maps. 400-plus cities, including Boston, Cincinnati, Houston, L.A., New York, Washington, D.C., and more. Android users will get the feature first.
No Petaluma?
Don't see Petaluma on the list. Dag nabbit. You can also buy train tickets or transit tickets. That's cool.
Are there buses in Petaluma?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
They are natural gas buses. And we also have a smart train, a light rail that goes from here to nowhere, which is great.
That train is fast.
It's not exactly nowhere, San Rafael. It's not exactly somewhere either. It is fast. It's nice.
That train is fast.
If you're going to San Rafael, it's great. Don't go, but it'll also go to Santa Rosa. It goes right next to our favorite steak place in Santa Rosa, but the train stopped running at 6 p.m., so you're going to get stranded.
What's the steak place? I hate to derail, but I had to ask.
Oh, and we can't take you there, but someday we'll take you to Stark's.
Stark's, okay. Yeah, I've heard of Stark's. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard about Stark's.
Okay, we're going back to the food thing again. I wish we were.
Sorry.
But it's good. So they have, besides an amazing porterhouse, lovely lobster. The porterhouse, the guy comes out and it's like for family of 8. He covers it up for you. But they also, the bread comes in a frying pan in which it has been baked with butter and garlic, and it's a pull-apart roll, and you might as well just eat that and not buy any steak because it's good. And I always say, I'm not going to have any of the bread, and I always do.
Sorry for derailing.
Google Play Store can now share apps and updates with nearby devices. Google Play Store can now share apps and updates with nearby devices. Another kind of like AirPlay thing. This is the nearby sharing feature, which Google has talked about before. It's going to start. Open the Play Store, tap the 3-line menu button, a.k.a. the hamburger menu, in the top corner, and then tap My Apps and Games. On this page, you see a handful of tabs along the top, one of which should say Share. If you don't see the Share tab, try waiting a few minutes. Okay. Fine. Fitbit.
Why isn't it a pancake menu?
Could be pancakes. Could be 3 pancakes. Could be
who decided it was going to be a hamburger menu?
3 silver dollars. I don't know.
Oh. Well, because a hamburger has like a
it
pancake
should be uneven then.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
The hamburger is narrower than the buns.
I was waiting to see how she justify it.
I was like, you don't always get 3 pancakes in a stack,
menu.
but you got 3 things in the hamburger.
It's not a waffle menu. 3 waffles would be a little too much.
That's a lot of waffle.
You made me get up in the middle of the show and go into the kitchen to see if any Stroop waffles were left, but they were all
Stroop
gone.
waffles.
To be clear, I was not eating a Stroop waffle.
No, but it made me want a Stroop waffle.
But you put it top of mind, though.
Fitbit smartwatches and trackers are now sold in the Google Store because Fitbit is now owned by the Google. So, yay. Is there still a sense of upset over Google's acquisition of Fitbit?
I'm sure some people are upset over it.
I get mostly the impression no one really cares anymore.
Nobody cares.
Well, because, look, Facebook's doing a smartwatch now. We've got Amazon's got a smartwatch.
Yeah.
Apple's got the smart.
Amazon didn't even bother with a watch. They just put a tracker
they just went
and
straight to
strap.
weird surveillance and emotional blackmail on your wrist.
Yeah.
You sound angry.
I'm going to have to...
You're fat.
I have to say, the new Mach-E has wireless AirPlay. So I just get in the car and my AirPlay starts. There is a bug, apparently, which causes a boot loop with Android 11. I haven't tested that yet. But I might want to see if I can use my Android Auto, because you can now create custom Google Assistant shortcuts. So you don't even have to talk to the damn thing. You just tap a button, and here's one for closing the garage. Here's one for arming the house, and I would guess others could be make a phone call or navigate home, that kind of thing. Custom buttons.
This was discussed on Smart Tech Today with Mr. Casanelli. He's all into shortcuts.
Yeah, he loves them on iOS. Yeah. Yeah. Google Assistant unofficially comes to Windows and Mac OS with a custom client. What? Melvin Abraham has written this custom client. It's on GitHub. So this isn't really part of the changelog because it's not from Google, but boy, you might want to check that out. It's GitHub, Melvin-Abraham, the Google Assistant unofficial desktop client. And by the way, Jeff Jarvis, it comes in dark mode.
Yes.
No. Yes. No. Yes. Finally, the last story.
Ba, 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 ba.
I can't even parse this sentence. Google Prompt 2 FAUI on Android gets much needed dark theme.
Oh, your prompt for two-factor authentication is now in dark.
Dark?
Dark mode.
Dark mode?
They had to do it.
No, and that's the Google changelog. Yeah, da 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 da. T t t t t t t t. Parler's back, but none of the parlays are there. So, I had to invent all new parlays. But I did log in, and it's back. I don't know who's hosting them now.
So I was thinking that one woman who downloaded everything.
Yeah, all the old parlays are somewhere else's servers. They're not on Parler's servers. All right. Sky Silk. Are they Russian?
All right.
Are they Russian Sky Silk?
LA-based Sky Silk.
LA-based. Good. Good. Professional cloud hosting services. Now it's time for the lovely Stacey Higginbotham's waffle. You should do this, the waffle of the week. Wouldn't that be good? Today's waffle combines savory feta cheese with honey from the South Carolina hill country.
Oh.
I'd have the waistline of the century. Did make grit waffles once. That sounds terrible, but they were very good.
Out of hominy grits?
Grits. Yeah, hominy grits. And you pop that in your waffle dough, and it makes like a cornmeal waffle.
Oh, the whole grit, not the little ground up grits, but the whole hominy.
I bet that's good.
No, the little ground up.
Oh, the little ones.
Not
Okay.
not the big hunk of hominy.
Not the hunk of
hominy. That's like pozole.
Yeah, hunk of burning hominy. Go ahead.
Okay, so today is not a thing; it's an app.
Yes.
Because I am very excited about mountains. I think it's very important for y'all to know that, because otherwise this makes no sense.
Though I hear there ain't no mountain high enough.
Or a valley low enough.
Yeah.
This app is called Peak Finder. This is not going to be good for you if you don't live near mountains. But if you like to visit places with mountains, it's great. It does cost money. It costs $4.99, but I found it very worth it because I am constantly looking, like when I'm on hikes or just, there's a lot of mountains around me and it's beautiful. And I'm like, man, is that Mount Baker? I don't know. And now I know because I downloaded this app and it uses your location. You just scan, you open the app and you get like camera basically, and you scan and you're like, it just shows you little tags for every single mountain. It tells you what they are. And you can take pictures and stuff like this. Again, this is a very niche app. I'm not going to lie, but it works so well. It does such a great job. And even when you can't see the mountains, it knows where you are and it will tell you the mountains that are behind that bank of fog. It's very exciting.
Wow, that's cool.
It's super cool. And like, I think I might be weird, but That's okay.
No, what makes you think that?
You're weird.
What makes you think that?
You can also take pictures and share the pictures with the names of the mountains on them. So you can be like, haha, friends, look at me. And it even works offline. So when you're hiking and there's nobody near you, all the data's down there, in your geographic area where you are, and it will still tell you. So that's
pretty cool.
I want to we talked about news gathering, and I think I left out one of the steps that I think is really important. I use a bookmark tool whenever I'm reading a story to bookmark it so that there is a central place where people can, our producers can find the stories I'm interested in covering. I have it automatically set up with Zappify to populate a spreadsheet for them, makes it easier for them to work. And I want to give a plug to this because I've been using it for some time. It's called Pinboard at pinboard.in. I started using it when Delicious was acquired by Yahoo and started to fall apart. It was
years ago.
Yeah, years ago. It supported the Delicious API, so it worked with a lot of tools I use. It's just been rock solid. And at the time, the creator, Maciej Czeglowski...
is that how you say his name?
It's how I say his name.
Say it again.
I may be wrong. Maciej, M-A-H-T-A-C-H-A-Y, Maciej, which is a archaic Polish form of the word Matthew, and I'm guessing Czeglowski or Czeglowski. Anyway, he's a really cool startup guy. He founded Pinboard many years ago, and he did an interesting thing. He said, the sooner you buy in, you'll get a lifetime membership, and and the price will go up as more people use it. So it was kind of incentive. And I think I spent $12 literally 10 years ago. I got an email from Maciej, and I'm sure a lot of us old timers did, saying, way back when you paid me $12 and thank you, but it still cost me money to run this. And you don't have to, but it'd be nice if you subscribed. And he gave me a lot of different levels. I actually chose the donut level. So you could see next to my name, there is a donut now. That means I am.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you click the donut, nothing happens. But I was hoping I'd get a donut anyway. But I just wanted to not only mention it, but also encourage those of you who, like me, were early pioneers and signed on early to this. You look for your email from Maciej, and who is a great guy anyway. His blog, Idle Words, is fantastic. He's been writing a lot about Hong Kong, the Hong Kong protests. Hasn't written since October, probably, doing other things, but still, he says,
Super active on Twitter.
Yeah, he's great. He's just really great. I wouldn't know that because I don't follow him.
He runs a slate of alternative candidates. So you can donate to, he researches political candidates, actually, and so he does quite a bit. Sorry.
We've asked him to be on many times because I love what he says in Idle Words, his blog, and I think the world of him. But he doesn't want to do do podcasts, I think. So that's fine. He's got other things to do. But I did fork over some dough. I bought a 10-year membership because I only want to pay him once every 10 years. But
fair enough.
It's I just want to give him a plug. If you're not a member, join. Pinboard.in is the best. I can go on and on about all the tools. Look at the how-to. There's all sorts of stuff. There's lots of very powerful tools. There's bookmarks. There's privacy. You can save websites in a database. So even if they go down, you'll have them. They have a bookmark by email. They have, as I said, the full Delicious API. It's rock solid. It's just rock solid. I've never had a problem with it. So keeping bookmarks is a nice thing. And you can follow my bookmarks directly because it's public. Pinboard.in/u for user, Leo Laporte. And so you'll see all of our stories. And I've been doing this for a long time. All the tags and all the stories there. Pinboard. Jeff, a number.
Let me make this. I now have media calls coming in. I'm doing ABC Australia. I'm doing CNBC Asia. I'm doing.
Yay! We love seeing you on the BBC.
Pepe. I'm not going to get any.
Oh, you mean you're going to have more? You're going to have stuff after this?
This is what happens when you have an opinion, Jeff.
I know. See what happens. I found it interesting that, according to The Guardian, The oversight board at Facebook has received so far 9,000 comments in their public comment.
Wow. 9,000. Where did there was it the Post? Somewhere had a good series of articles on the people on that board. I can't remember where that was.
Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Ant Pruitt, what's your thing?
Well, my thing is something that it's piggybacking off of my days of being in the band and whatnot, and what some people don't know, and I know I didn't share with you all previously. I said that I played saxophone, which is true, but I also dabbled with playing around with the snare drums when I was in the marching band, and I got fairly good at it. But I just liked I just love that motion and the sound and the art of it. And this weekend I was watching YouTube on TV as usual and came across this Apex channel where they share one of their members trying to reenact the Drumline movies drum corps competitions. And I thought it was quite fascinating because he goes in and breaks down the technique, but he's not a snob about it. You know, he talks about how they're holding the sticks and so forth, and he dives into the rhythms and cadence of it all, and it's pretty fascinating to watch. And if you skip to like the 16-minute mark, he gives you, the actual full playback of him going through it.
That's kind of cool. So he does the whole breakdown of it, and now
and he's trying to memorize it.
Yeah,
as he's breaking.
Turn on
it down.
my sound if you don't have it up, John, because we want to. Here we go. You ready? Here we go. Were you in a drum line?
No, I played here and there for our band, but most of the time I was on the saxophone.
I don't think we have drum lines as much here in California. I actually was the announcer on a drum and bugle corps competition some years ago, and it was so much fun.
I used to love watching DCI, Drum Corps International, on TV when they broadcasted competitions.
I can't remember where, was it Fresno or somewhere? Because there are a bunch of high schools that do some of this stuff, but we're too cool in the Bay Area, I think.
But I love this. He's got it down.
The thing is, he's doing what every one of these kids learned in this movie. I mean, they're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work, a lot of rehearsal. And man, you have to be letter perfect. They are judging you. You are being judged.
Yeah, like I said, he stops a couple times in his attempt to memorize this. He says, wait a minute now.
It's hard to do.
He shouldn't be holding it this way if he's going to make it sound like this and make this particular sequence.
Well, it is a movie,
And he calls it out. But like I said, he wasn't a snob about it. He sort of, had fun with it.
That's really cool.
But he nailed it, man. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure I'm going to watch more.
Is this a good movie? Should I watch this? I've never seen this movie.
It's okay.
It's got a lot of drumming.
Yeah, the competitions are where it's at, though.
Yeah.
They have 3 different presentations in that movie, and they are stellar.
I was not a judge. I was just the announcer that goes, and now from Fresno High School, the Marching Cougars. But it was so much fun. I really dug doing it. It is very, very exciting.
And you talk about the discipline. I was speaking with someone, I can't remember who, but I was speaking with someone online, and they were giving me a hard time about my affinity with sports. And I told them that sports changed my life. It helped me to be a better human, and it helped me to, look within, if you will, and help me with discipline and things like that. But also band. My band practices were just as rigorous. And if you messed up, you had to pay for your mistakes, if you will. But it taught you just to be disciplined and pay attention to details. And then it also taught me the love of music. Granted, I don't always listen to hip hop and all of the bass and bumpity bump music, but I enjoy, listening to some Hans Zimmer every now and then too.
Did you just call it that bumpity bump music?
Bumpity bump bass.
Grandpa Ant?
Bum, bumpity bump. You kids with your bumpity bump music, get off my lawn.
I miss my bass lines every now and then, though.
Come on, we'll give you a ride in the Mach-E. It's got a very nice sound system. I'll crank it up for you. I'll crank it up. I was listening to what's the hot one? The hot song right now. I can't remember.
I have no idea. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't either, but Apple Music has the Global Hot 100.
Oh, yeah.
And I just turn up the bass, man, and I drive down the street like this. Ant Pruitt, hands-on photography, twit.tv/hop.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to get you another gig around here. We got to get you to more to do because you're so great. I'm just regular on This Week in
Hold
Google.
up. I'm tired.
I'm
Okay.
pretty busy, but sure.
You do. Well, you do. There's a lot of stuff for hands-on tech as well. In fact, your review, this week you got a review on it, right?
Yes, sir. Today is my Canon R5 and Canon R6 video. And yeah, just stay tuned because I have some thoughts. I'll just leave it at that. So make sure you're subscribed over there.
Good. I'm fascinated. You might save me some money. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think I will.
Hoping you'll
quite
save
honestly.
me. Hoping you'll save me a little bit of money. Jeff Jarvis is the director of the Town Night Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York City. BuzzMachine.com at Jeff Jarvis. Cacio e Pepe. Catch him on the BBC and the WGBH and all the things.
Wherever.
Whatever. What are you going to do today? What are you doing tonight?
CNBC Asia.
CNBC Asia.
That's
Wow.
Australia. That's Australia.
Wow.
ABC Australia.
Oh, all the Australians. Do they bill you as a former
Watch.
TV guide critic?
No.
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 Sinatra
Only-
once called him a bum, ladies and gentlemen. Our own
Yes.
Jeff Jarvis. And Stacey Waffle Higginbotham from Stacey on IoT. Her newsletter there is must read. Must read. You should also listen to the IoT podcast. She's at GigaStacey on the Twitter. Thank you, Stace.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, all of you. We'll see you next week on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.
Hey folks, I'm Ant Pruitt, host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know some of you have gotten yourself a brand new camera or you just had a camera sitting around and can't quite figure out how to get the most out of it. Well, I have a solution. My show, Hands on Photography. So subscribe right now to learn how to get the most out of that camera. I'm going to show you how to make those images pop. I don't care if it's a Canon camera. I don't care if it's a Sony, Nikon, iPhone, Android, even a inexpensive Android device. I got you covered. So head on over to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.